but I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show is live. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And what is it we do, you may wonder? Well, let me explain. No, too much. Let me sum up. We talk about aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. And of course, as being live, like I described, we are streaming on multiple platforms as well as broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And that would be Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And of course, the Fringe FM is digital radio. So that's what's going on tonight. That's what's going on all those nights, Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. And Troubled Minds, it's a thing. Apparently it's a thing. It's becoming a thing. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you to everybody for listening and being part of this journey. And well, as we get going tonight, let's get to the phone number and all the rest of this. As you know, right? I always say this, and this is the truth: is that I don't have any inside sources. I don't have, like Ryan Gable says, a Galactic Federation ambassador feeding me information. Nothing like that. I just like to read news cycles. I like to stay up on information as it comes out. I love science and I love these sorts of things. But it seems to, as part of living in the upside down, it sort of becomes this mishmash of science, technology, and science fiction. And how much of this is really obfuscated and, hidden from us, with DARPA-like projects and things like this. And so all of that kind of interest turns into a troubling conversation. And so that's what we do. And of course, trying to remain positive here, not trying to say the world is coming to an end or anything like that. Michael Strange is not a doom preacher, and Troubled Minds is not a church. Just to let you know, it's just a conversation. And so the reason I bring up the Galactic Federation ambassador and my sources, I don't have any sources. However, Troubled Minds and myself, I've made quite a lot of friends doing this show, and you actually are the secret weapon of this show, meaning that a lot of the information that we talk about, a lot of the things that are inspired for us to consider as show topics, a lot of those come from you. A lot of those come from people listening, people contributing ideas, and of course the amazing callers. Like I always say, we've got the most intelligent radio community out there, period. And it's, well, because all you got to do is listen to the amazing people that call in with some of their takes on this stuff. And so in the end, well, it's a long-winded way of me saying that you are my secret weapon. You are the secret weapon of Troubled Minds, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you for listening and being part of this. But as we get going tonight, well, there's a couple things. Clearly, we got to read the phone number. So being that there's a secret weapon, it wouldn't be a very good secret weapon if there was no phone number to call. So let's do that. If you want to be part of the show tonight at any point, we're taking your calls at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. And of course, you can join the Discord at troubledminds.org. That's where a lot of that community actually resides. A lot of the link sharing, a lot of the ideas. Like yesterday, shout out to Matt in California again for bringing up the Tesla stuff, and some of those documents have been released through the FOIA and a lot of that. So good information coming through Discord. If you guys have not joined that, please do. troubledminds.org and click the Discord link. It's right on top. You cannot miss it. And the phone number's there as well. So if I read the number too fast or you didn't write it down or whatever, just go to the website. Website's got everything, troubledminds.org. You can find the phone number and the Discord link, and there you go. Discord, by the way, is a chat client. It's a voice client. We are not sponsored by them. They are just an amazing program. And it's totally free, by the way. You can use it internationally to communicate with people, and it's not Facebook yet, meaning that they don't censor the hell out of things yet. So hopefully it's going to stay that way, and they're not going to use it as some sort of a wink wink anti-terrorist tool. But you know what I mean. Not that I'm saying the terrorists should get away with murder or anything, but I am saying that hopefully it doesn't become a censorious place, because that would be unfortunate. But okay, so there you go. And also we have another a second. Basically, Discord's one program, but we have a second room running, a chat room at fringe.fm/chat. Please join that. I'm watching all of them, trying to watch all of the chats here and keep up with all your guys' ideas as we go tonight. And I'll read some of your chat as it's pertinent to the conversation. And one more thing, if you want to listen to Troubled Minds Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, download the Fringe app at the Apple Store, the Android Store, anywhere you can find your apps. You like to get your apps, get them. And the Fringe app is totally free, and at 7:05, just smash the play button. On Monday through Thursday, you get Troubled Minds. So there you go. I think that zips us up. So all right, I'm thinking about all kinds of stuff. Right, yesterday we kind of did a little investigating into the quantum realm, and I think tonight we're going to stay in the quantum realm. But of course, we're going to be able to bounce that in all different ways, because the quantum realm itself is, well, a spooky place. It's definitely a spooky action at a distance, quantum immortality, the things we were talking about last night. But last night we were talking about in terms of time travel, like quantum tunneling and time travel and things like that, and how Nikola Tesla actually had an actual time travel experience, all right? Well, I was looking into some other stuff today. As you know, like I always say, watching news cycles very closely, not just for, propaganda, to be able to parse that and talk about that and, consider what's really happening in the world around us. But like I said in the beginning here, I enjoy the science. I enjoy that this a lot of this stuff comes from particular places that are sometimes unexpected. And, well, back to the quantum realm we go tonight, because why not? Because the quantum realm seems to be a place of wonder and mystery. So why the hell not? Let's do it. So let's go. What time is it? All right, good. Make sure we're good on time. Here we go. I'm going to start here. This is from scifi.com, and you guessed it. If you saw the headline of the show on the cameras tonight, or on the streams tonight, yeah, invisibility. We're going to talk about cloaking technology tonight, and this is from scifi.com, and this got me thinking in a number of ways, and you'll see why. So here we go. Invisibility is a power now within reach because of a really bizarre phenomenon. Interesting. Here we go. They say this is actually from just a couple days ago, November 29th. Invisibility has almost gone from fiction to science now that lithium atoms were almost made invisible. All right, let's read some of this. All right, let's see. Of course, the Invisible Man. H.G. Wells dreamed of the Invisible Man. Here's why it's possible. Because of the Pauli exclusion principle, this phenomenon of being invisible, aka Pauli blocking. If the max number of fermions, here's some science for you. Don't worry, it won't go too in depth, so it won't feel like science class. But here we go. If the max number of fermions, atoms with an odd number of electrons, protons, and neutrons, occupy one quantum state, none of them can move to another. That is what an MIT research team led by Yair Margalit found out. The results were recently published in Science, and there's links here, of course. And so here we go. Quote. Here's the quote from that individual, Margalit. Says this: under regular conditions, when a fermionic atom scatters light, it experiences recoil velocity, like a kick, due to absorbing and emitting a photon, Margalit told Sci-Fi Wire. And they continued, in the ultra-cold regime, this atom would simply not scatter light as it would under regular conditions. Oh, all right. So scatter light. What does scatter light mean? Oh, well, clearly, right, for the optic nerve that Ash always talks about in the top of the second hour, the optic nerve, right, is based on the incoming light signatures, right? That's how we see things. So if you can scatter light, what does that do to human vision? What does that do to the item in question, whether that's, of course, a person, a place, a thing, or an idea, or sorry, that was a noun, or a battleship, or the USS Eldridge, right? Who knows? So here we go. It is because of Pauli blocking that an atom which is frozen to extremes can become unable to scatter light, and therefore seem invisible. When photons stream through a cloud of atoms, they cause the atoms to bounce off each other, which scatters the photons and makes matter visible to the human eye. The cloud of atoms grows denser and denser as temperatures plummet. Any given atom that was subjected to recoil velocity should be pushed into a different quantum state, but the Pauli exclusion principle prevents that. Therefore, they cannot scatter light. And what does that mean? Yeah, well, you know what that means. It means invisibility. It means, right, again, the sci-fi trope of what? Help me out with some of this, guys, in the chat tonight. What are some of the movies out there, some of the sci-fi where the plot devices, the TV trope is invisibility? How about the Klingons and their cloaking device, right? How about, what about the Invisible Woman of the Fantastic Four, right? How about that? How about Lord of the Rings? How about the one ring that you slip on your finger and you become invisible? There's more. What about the Predator with his invisibility technique where he scrambles light to become a camouflaged, maybe seemingly invisible entity? What's going on with this? So it got me thinking in terms of, there you go, Hedro Hose, what's up? The Harry Potter cloak. Exactly, right? There's a cloak in Harry Potter, I'm told, reading about this stuff tonight. I found that out. I've never seen a Harry Potter movie in my life or read one of the books, so I didn't know that until tonight. But apparently there's an invisibility cloak in Harry Potter. So there's more, right? But I think this is the thing. When you go back, it's one of those, let's say, dreamlike states, you know? It's, you know, people say these things happen in dreams, including, right, you get to this point where you say, all right, well, you know, people, they fly in their dreams, right? That's one of them. That's one of the main things. They fly in their dreams, right? What about you know, running around naked in your dreams? I'm naked, right? Everybody can see that I'm naked and everybody else has clothes on, right? Something like that in your dreams. Well, another common dream seems to be you're invisible. And you're able to walk around and see what's going on around you, but people can't see you. So it got me thinking in terms of not just, well, science fiction, of course, with, again, the Klingon bird of prey. Got you there, Brian, after dark in the chat. Matt says Ghost in the Shell. It was a trench coat. We're talking about invisibility devices. And it got me thinking in terms of, well, all right, so if this is clearly like the stuff of science fiction, this is the stuff of dreams, is this also the stuff of reality? is it possible that people are out there walking around right now with invisibility powers? And whether that happens to be magic, right? Well, we can talk about some magic tonight if you want to do that. If it's technology, let's say, wouldn't that be probably one of the most vaunted stealth forces ever if they were actually invisible? Things like this, right? The wink wink CIA brute squad or whatever is invisible. That would be incredible, right? What's up? Tyler in the chat says Bonds Aston Martin. There you go. There's another example. And I think that's the thing here, right? There's the Cloak of Invisibility way before Harry Potter. Gotcha. Just saying. I've never read Harry Potter or watched any of the movies, so I don't know. But okay. So point being is that given whether it's going to be technology or magic or somewhere in between, because of course, as we know, this is really one of the major themes of this show with not just science but also sci-fi. Magic is just science that we don't understand yet, and that's a quote by Arthur C. Clarke. And that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about that. Magic is just science that we don't understand yet, so we can even call this magic. So do you think, the question tonight is this: clearly in sci-fi it's a thing. Clearly it's a thing of dreams, like flying and being naked, right? You know, naked in your dreams, wink wink. But you see what I did there. But the point is this: do you think there are actually people walking around out there that are invisible? Actually invisible. Do you think this is a real thing? And, well, if so, how deep does this go? Because, you know, we talk about, that's the question tonight, right? That's just one of the questions as we get going. So are there invisible people walking around out there? Because clearly we have the stealth fighters, right? We have, anti-radar technology, things like this, right? They say that like the F-22 or whatever is like invisible. Well, it's not. I mean, you can see it. It's, it's quiet, sure, and you can't see it. It's supposedly got the radar signature of like a bird or something like that, right? So you can't really know it's coming. So it's effective stealth, but it's not actual stealth. It's not actual invisibility. So not only in terms of that, right? We can think in terms of, let's say Stargate SG-1, right? Some of the bad guy ships had cloaking abilities, all right? And so I think that's what we're talking about here. So not just people, is it possible that let's say humans in one capacity or another, whether it's science, magic, or somewhere in between, that let's say we or they, how do I say this? Is it we? I guess it's not we if we can't go down and just buy an invisibility cloak, right? So we'll have to say they in terms of maybe the military, in terms of maybe the breakaway civilization like we've talked about in the past, in terms of whoever they happen to be, I don't know. But is it possible that an actual invisibility technology has been achieved? And of course, if that were the case, how would we know? How would we know? Back to the cloning conversation a couple nights ago. Well, if you were a clone, how would you know? Well, how about this? If invisible people were walking around, how would you know? How would we know? We wouldn't. We could have some weirdo in our house right now, right here over my shoulder watching me do this radio show, right? That's super creepy. But I guess it's possible if you think that maybe an invisibility type technology has been achieved. And there's lots of stories, right? There's lots of stories about this regarding not just in the past, but of course magically, back to Frodo and the Magic Ring and that sort of thing. But more like, let's say Skinwalker Ranch. There's an individual by the name of Chris Marks that worked out there on Skinwalker Ranch for a number of years, and he had some stories to tell. He told these stories on the John Greenwald Jr. podcast, by the way, but one of them in particular that kind of creeped me out goes a little something like this. He described him and his partner there on Skinwalker Ranch, and they were in a trailer because, of course, they were staying in these makeshift trailers or whatever, and they were inside of it, and they heard footsteps outside. Okay, and they were loud, they were big, almost like you would expect Bigfoot to be making sounds, crunch, crunch, crunch on the outside, and they were like, "What is that?" Then the door opened. And then something came inside of the trailer, and they both backed off to the edges, like, what in the world is going on? And this invisible entity walked into the middle of the trailer with them inside of it. Stomp, 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 stomp. The thing was shaking. The feet were boom, boom, boom. They could hear it. Everything was there except whatever it was invisible to the naked eye. And so the question is, right, with stuff like that, is this a paranormal thing? Is this, we talked last night a little bit about maybe the quantum or the temporal flux that our bodies are in constantly, which of course is brand new science, with the quantum particles actually time traveling in small doses forward and backward all over the place, right? Well, tonight we're talking about the quantum level in a way like this with the Pauli exclusion principle, meaning, of course, that if you can freeze a particular particle in place, well, it doesn't actually refract light like you would expect it to, and which means you could build scientifically an invisibility cloak. And so I started digging. I was like, all right, this is hot. We've never talked about this before, right? Sort of just in the periphery of things. But clearly, the quantum world's a pretty wondrous place, like I said previously. But here we are, right? So the question tonight is exactly that. Do you believe that it's possible that somebody out there, whether it's a military, some other foreign state actor, some breakaway civilization, we'll even say aliens. Let's throw aliens into the mix here tonight because this is Troubled Minds after all. What about magic? Do you think through any of these means that somebody out there in this world has achieved the ability to become invisible? And that's what's on my mind tonight. And we could talk about, again, the F-22 type technology where they try and remain invisible on radar. That's one thing. So clearly, this is a military advantage to an enormous degree, all right? And that's clearly what's going on here and why you would expect DARPA and the militaries of the world and all the rest of this stuff, these guys to be really pressing this technology, okay? So the question is this then. How prevalent do you think this is? Is it possible that this is going on right now? And if so, right, it's still, as I like to consider, if this is real, then are there invisible people walking around all over the place? Is this really a thing? Because we talk about on this show the surveillance state, we talk about, right, privacy and all the rest of that. But what if there's actually, I don't know, like an invisible brute squad walking around out there, keeping an eye on people that, of course, can't be seen back? And that creeps me out a little bit. Yep, the Philadelphia experiment, we got that too. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight. Whatever, we're going to talk about all kinds of different things regarding invisibility. And I think that's the thing here, right? They were trying to make the USS Eldridge invisible back in World War II, if you recall, right? Einstein's related to that story, so is Nikola Tesla, Al Bielek, that whole bit. We're not really going to go too deep into that because we've done that in the past. But some of these stories do persist in real life, all right? Meaning that they say that back in World War II, they were trying to actually cloak a ship, a naval ship, the USS Eldridge, all right? And so, well, if that's the case, do you think at some point they maybe perfected this technology? Or, once again, back to the quote by Arthur C. Clarke, magic is just science that we don't understand yet. Well, that brings us to this tonight. So what about invisibility? They say in this article here on scifi.com, invisibility is a power now within reach because of a really bizarre phenomenon. And we're talking about the Pauli exclusion principle, and we're talking about the quantum world, of course. But, well, I think it goes beyond that because we can talk about, let's say folk magic. Let's say, I don't know. What are your ideas on this? And so the question is this, right? Do you think this is real? Do you think that not only do we have the technology now to hide people and make them invisible, just me or you, bam, snap your fingers and you're gone, out of sight, or even ships, planes, the rest of this, military assets, etc., so on. How about even buildings? Well, you tell me. That's what's on my mind tonight. Have we perfected this technology? How prevalent is this? Is this science fiction or is it not? Somewhere in between. Love to hear your thoughts. As always, taking your phone calls, and you can reach Troubled Minds and myself at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Is it possible there are invisible things, people, planes, cars, whatever, in our world today? And if so, how prevalent do you think this is? Is it technology? Is it magic? Is it somewhere in between? Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. Invisibility Cloaks, the Philadelphia Experiment, and you when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about invisibility technology. Is this science? Is this magic? Is this somewhere in between? Does this even exist at all? Are there invisible people or things moving around in the world we live in and we have no idea? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And so we'll begin back here, all right? As we consider this and think about this and all of this stuff, we know back to the Philadelphia Experiment, of course, World War II, they tried to cloak the USS Eldridge. That's how the story goes, right? Regarding the Philadelphia Experiment. And it turns out that it turned into a whole bunch of other things. This whole folklore and mythology of time travel and teleportation and all kinds of other things that were used with a technology that was brought about by Albert Einstein. I believe this is a unified field theory is what they were talking about. And so, well, what does that even mean? So clearly and obviously, it would be one of the most easily abused powers if it was out there, right? Because just think of the things you could do. It would be pretty incredible for military purposes, for subterfuge, for stealth, for all that stuff, right? If you want to, you never have to buy a loaf of bread again. You just go shopping and pick up a couple things and walk on out of there. Know what I'm saying? Like, it would kind of break down society a little bit. So it makes me wonder if this is a real thing in the term of, well, at least maybe real people can get this stuff. And if not, well, let's say they keep it confined to the military circles or whatnot. Do you think this is real? They were trying to work on this again probably as early as military technology, which probably goes back hundreds or thousands of years, right? Because that is the ultimate goal, to be invisible to your enemy. They can't see you, they can't shoot you, they can't stab you, and you have an incredible advantage. So obviously people have been working on this for a very, very, very long time. However, it remains to be seen because, well, like that, it remains to be seen if there's actually anybody walking around invisible. Because if they were, we wouldn't know. Or cars or tanks, the M1 Abrams tank, like they said in the chat a little bit earlier up. I mean, the thing is that, right? Is this real? Do you think they've actually accomplished this somehow? And if so, well, what does that mean for the rest of the world? And so we were talking on the break a little bit about maybe demons as well. What about paranormal entities that aren't normally invisible? They have that cloak, that shimmer, that sort of way to mask themselves, sort of like the Predator from the sci-fi fame, right? The Predator that could kind of cloak in the shadows or in trees or wherever else, just kind of blend in with the surroundings with natural type camouflage. But also, what's up? Shout out to Penelope out there on the Fringe chat. I see you there. The edge of the arena in Hunger Games had that shimmer as well. And there you go. That's what we're looking for tonight. So we're talking about Wonder Woman's invisible jet, the Invisible Woman. We're talking about Frodo with the ring. We're talking about all kinds of things. Invisibility has been in the zeitgeist for a very, very long time. But the question tonight is, well, do you think it's possible that there are invisible things or people out there walking around and doing whatever it is they're doing? So there we go. Let's go to looks like Joseph in Iowa. What's up, Joseph? Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. Thank you very much. What do you think about invisibility?
I think that the technology, complete invisibility may not be a thing, but they could simulate it very closely, like good enough to move in on like anyone who's not. You got to think, they're thinking about terms of like AI wars, and they're looking ahead of things that, Invisibility Cloak in the long scheme of things is going to be useless. You might as well use it to hunt deer. Once you got a AI robot that can shoot a fly from a mile away, you're not going to want to be sneaking around in something, you know. But
Harry Potter cloak.
I think, yeah, you don't want to be calling your Harry Potter cloak, but I do think it's out there, and I think a cool thing is like maybe like an octopus. Like it reminds me of Futurama. They have an episode where like they have like octopuses on their head, and they jack in to the octopus, and like maybe you could have like a water barrier around you, and that can change its chemical composition to your, I don't know, it could get really weird.
Yeah,
with some organic technology.
Exactly, right. Imagine, so we're talking about this this quantum Pauli exclusion principle, where they say that they're able to make these the particles actually not reflect light anymore. They start to just sort of absorb it and don't kick it back, which means that's how we see. We see those light, you know, the shadows and the light, and that's what actually affects our optic nerves and causes us to see things, right? That's the way the whole system's set up. It's a little more complicated than that, clearly, but in this, they're saying that if they could create a cloak or something out of this,
the eyes.
Yeah, basically trick the eyes. So you maybe to nature you wouldn't be, right? Because like in your example, like maybe hunt deer, they'd smell you a mile away, right? I mean, the hunting deer thing, you got to be downwind or upwind and things like this. Like there are more than just like see the deer, shoot the deer, right? Because they have survival instincts. They have more than one sense. And so just because they can't see a predator doesn't mean it's not there. So there's that, right? But then there's this, if they have this Pauli exclusion thing that where they can hide these particles or whatever. Let's say, as you described, maybe you could turn it into a cream and just rub it on your body, and bam, make you invisible, right? So I guess that's the question, right? Do you think this technology already exists? Now, I oddly enough, I dug through a bunch of old articles here to see if there's anything that suggests it's real. Right? And every, I don't know, year or so, an article comes out that says, oh, it's close, we're almost there. Look what they did in this university or something. But, well, what does that mean? Does that mean they stopped? Or does that mean they achieved it and we just don't know? What do you think?
Well, they could have just achieved it and didn't let anyone know, but it really reminds me of like, I do carpet for a living, so I was doing a job for it was someone who was blind, and I came up with the idea that was already invented from like an electric engineer guy. It was like a glove that makes you feel objects from like distances away and stuff, so you can feel your surroundings when it's coming at you, almost like a sixth sense. So then I imagine it like a full body suit that you get of this glove, and you would be able to feel your entire, if you had it on since birth, if you were blind, you would be like the Daredevil. You would feel everything. Like you would feel like the drawer handles and on your body as you walk by them, and there's nothing on that technology. But then you look about a week ago when Metaverse came out for Facebook, and they have a VR glove that lets you feel objects. So it's either get a bunch of money to buy this technology, or it's going to just stay hidden, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
so. Maybe the technology is for sale.
Right, enough money. If you got the money, honey, we got your disease, right? And it seems like that could be the case, because I think obviously, just back to that military application, this is probably one of the most critical things, subterfuge for military applications. Like if you can be invisible, boy, the things you could do, right? With even just a small group of people, you could pull off some amazing stuff. And they do a lot of that in sci-fi, right? They do a lot of that stuff, and again, back to Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and all the rest of this stuff. And that's not even like really.
Well, they would have to adapt society before they release that. Like the police would have to be on it. They would have, I imagine, helmets that would see right past all that. You would be digitally displayed in their helmet, no matter if you're invisible or not, like a heat signature or Like they're probably just waiting for it to even out. You can't release all this stuff as soon as it comes, because that's just it'll cause an uneven. It'll just be unsafe.
Yeah, unsafe for everybody. I mean, imagine, right? Like you have to be, if you're invisible, there's an X-Files episode where the guy was invisible, right? And he ends up getting hit by a car because he forgets that the cars can't see him. So he just walks out in front of a car expecting it to stop. So he gets hit by a car. It's things like this, right? It would be dangerous. It would be dangerous, not just for the people that are invisible. It would have to be sort of some in-depth training program to make sure.
Or a whole car.
Yeah.
Like a whole car invisible.
Exactly.
That would be.
Yeah, and that's the next level, right? So not just people, what about vehicles? What about cars or tanks or planes or things like this? Or even, I mean, this is troubled minds after all, what about UFOs? What if we've got those human-made UFOs that have been rumored, you know, the breakaway civilization stuff? What if they can cloak those? I mean, if you can break... do advanced propulsion technology where you kind of anti-gravity tech, surely you would have some sort of maybe a line on this maybe quantum cloaking that we're talking about here. I don't know. A lot of angles. What do you think about the UFOs and cloaking and all the rest of that?
Well, I mean, I have like a lot of theories. It's on like reality itself, so I don't even know where to begin on UFOs. Like physical crafts, though, you would think would be easier to cloak because you're not worried about like you're not restricted to like the person. You know, the person. You can't hurt a ship, so you could do a lot of different things to it.
Exactly.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know either. That's why we talk about this stuff. I wish I had the answers here, but I don't. But there are questions, and it is fascinating, don't you think, that if this existed and militaries around the world were already using this stuff, what that means for, civil rights, what that means for, privacy and due process and all the rest of this stuff, it kind of throws a monkey wrench in all of that, because it does become sort of crossing that line between magic and science, right?
I used to play this video game. It's called The Ark, and like I got into like a duplication thing, and we would duplicate in the official servers. And basically, once you get something so powerful, and like, I mean, this is kind of not related, but you don't want to lose that to like a random. You don't want to go out. You don't want to send some guy, some Jason Bourne guy, out in an invisibility cloak, and then he flops up somewhere in a creek, and then someone finds that somewhere, you know? And I think that really keeps them, they keep all their stuff real tight. If not, they don't build it at all because they don't have any need for it. They just know that they can build it.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, you would expect that that stuff would be super kept under wraps at this point, because like you said, it becomes a dangerous thing, not just maybe for the operators, but for definitely for the people that are around it. Fantastic stuff. I appreciate the call, Joseph. You were the best. Anything else for us while we got you on tonight?
Nope. You can. I got a YouTube channel. I mean, everyone's been shouting out their YouTube channel, so
sure.
I go by Hydro Hose, and I just made a couple raps. Just to add something, to have something.
Sure. Tell me what.
I got a business and everything,
right,
and
cool.
I'm going to do a couple big things in the future.
All right, cool. So I didn't know that, so just let me know in the chat next time, and I'll shout it out for you so you don't have to do it, okay? I appreciate it. Thank you for participating. Thanks for being amazing. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody check out Hydro Hose, just like it sounds, HYDROHOHOES. Yeah, HOES. There we go. Joseph in Iowa. Appreciate it, my man. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. There we go. Easy as that. Phone lines work. Thank you, Joseph, for breaking the ice tonight. We're talking about invisibility technology. We're talking about cloaking Is this, again, as Arthur C. Clarke says, magic is just science that we don't understand yet. So does this exist? And very much like Joseph said, is this something that would be dangerous even to people using it? I think that's the bizarre part with this, because if it is, right, clearly we know the stealth fighters and, stealth military and all that's real, all right? All that's very real. But it's done to reduce, lead time on, listening and hearing a jet come in, things like this. It's done to reduce radar signatures so they don't see them until it's too late, things like this. So it's not true invisibility. But do you think that somewhere out there in the world today, there's actual invisibility technology? And again, or is it magic? You tell me. We can talk about magic tonight. We can talk about technology. We can talk about airplanes, or we can talk about Lord of the Rings. Wherever you want to take this, fiction or fact or somewhere in between. Again, just like Arthur C. Clarke said, this is the quote of the night. Magic is just science that we don't understand yet. And that's what I want to know from you. Is this cloaking technology that they keep saying, like if you look at the links, as always, I link my sources down below so you can see I'm not making this stuff up. Check it out on the info box on YouTube there. All my links are there for tonight, the stuff I'm talking about. But it's like this, right? You go back and like throughout, it seems like every year or so, there's another, cloaking technology article coming out talking about how close we are. This cloaking is ready. That cloaking is almost done. We can almost hide people this way or hide objects that way. Well, sure, fine. You can do it in a controlled laboratory setting, but that's really limited in usefulness until you can do that in the wild. So the question tonight is that exactly. Do you think that at some point human beings have cracked the code to becoming invisible, whether through technology, through magic, or some combination? Well, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're considering tonight. And again, we could add all kinds of stuff in here. What would be the implications, of course, like I said, to a civil society? I think you'd have problems, wouldn't you? Imagine being the most nasty assassin ever. You would be invisible, wouldn't you? You'd just show up and stick somebody in the neck and disappear, and they'd never even know, because you weren't even there to disappear in the first place. You would have disappeared before you even showed up. So lots of this seems pretty wild, right? It seems pretty out there, but you do have stories of people describing instances where they feel like they were in the presence of an invisible entity. And so again, I don't think it's ghosts. I don't think it's like that. We're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about actual physical entities. And that's the odd part. That's the strangeness here, and that's what we're talking about. Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Joseph, for breaking the ice and being part of the show. If you want to be part of it tonight, and what are your thoughts on invisibility? And do you think this technology exists? And if so, how long is it, and how prevalent has this been? How long has it been going on, and how prevalent is it in the real world, if at all? And you can reach us at 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and we'll put you on the show. A couple quick things real fast here. What's up, Night Stalker is in the chat. Derek in Massachusetts. Happy birthday, my friend. Little birdie told me it's your birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out with us, my man. All right, so there's a lot here, right? Let's go to this. Let's go to this is tvtropes.org, right? And there's a lot of stuff here. Because again, right, we're talking about the 1958 series Hero way back in let's see here could do let's see sorry hold on okay, one of the more frequently used science fiction ideas in TV after putting people in spaceships, of course, is turning people invisible. In addition to the frequent appearance of invisibility as one of as a one-use trope in both serious and comedic programs, it has been the central premise for a number of programs. Invisibility is often coupled with themes of isolation and alienation, as the invisible character's ability makes him an outcast. The original Invisible Man became a sociopath because of the condition. In many of these series, the character is permanently invisible, which strains normal personal ties. And I think that's pretty wild there with, again, being invisible turned this guy into a sociopath, right? And very much like Joseph was saying, there are some implications here. There's some dangers here, not just to the person that can become invisible, right? Well, I think of Gollum and My Precious and the rest of that. But what does this mean? Do you think we actually have this happening now, whether through magic or science? There's some more stuff I'll get to tonight. We can talk about the Philadelphia experiment. If you remember back in just after World War II, they said Einstein was involved in cloaking the USS Eldridge, which turned it into, from the unified field field theory of Einstein sort of became a time-traveling, teleporting machine instead. So, well, was that real or was that fake? I have no idea. So love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037, and love to hear your ideas on this. Do you think there's an actual invisibility technology out there in the wild, whether it's military, whether it's civilian, whether it's that breakaway civilization, whether it's something in between? What about magic? Can you cast a magic spell to make yourself invisible? Oh, no, you tell me. 702-957-1037. Let's go to our good buddy, Doug, in Minnesota.
What's happening?
What's up? GameVet02. Check out his YouTube channel. Got some UFO stuff up there. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, man. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about this cloaking. I want to talk to you about this cloaking tech that you're talking about here. I happen to witness, and my wife also, I wrote it in chat. I don't know if anybody read it or not, but my wife and I witnessed this cloaking technology on a UFO last fall. And then all of a sudden, just a few weeks ago, I happened to record a triangle craft that was partially invisible that flew over my head. And there was two objects that night, and I have two recordings on my channel that was partially cloaked. So I don't know if it's ours or somebody else's, but I do know it's out there.
Okay, but for sure, you know this exists. This is a thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it with my own eyes, and my wife's seen it. But like I say, that the cloaking technology that we both saw on a UFO. I mean, when it turned invisible, it was like somebody shut a light switch off and it was gone. Like, you could not see it at all. You know, one minute it was 6 lights around in a horseshoe-shaped craft, and all of a sudden, like somebody flipped the switch off and it was gone. Like, you could not see it at all. But, you know, we both knew right away, or we both knew that it was sitting right there. But you wouldn't be able to tell if it was there or not.
Okay, that's pretty wild. Good stuff. So definitely, it's not the first time I've heard UFOs as using this technology. People have described this quite often. But so the question is, right?
Yeah.
Back to the whole Bob Lazar thing, reverse engineering UFOs. If we ever did that, I think we would have that cloaking technology, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this isn't the only thing. I mean, I've recorded another object that was reported around the world. It was recorded in Canada, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Study Ranch recorded the same thing I did. I labeled it Astro Train on my channel, and that thing was partially cloaked with a fog that went around the whole craft. Now, I saw with my own eyes, and it was dispersing this fog or mist, or maybe it was like ionizing the area around itself. And I could physically see it being sprayed out. And with the camera, all types of cameras that these people recorded the same object with, you could not see the top layer of this object. You could only see the lit up part on the bottom. So I don't know if you want to call that like a cloaking technology also, because this camera couldn't capture that top part, but it could capture the bottom part. Using a psionics camera, it turned the light purple, which was a big solid rectangle light. The psionics camera picks up on infrared objects, and to the naked eye, the light was like bright white, like a LED light. But in the camera's eyes, it was like it turned a bright pink, or kind of a purplish pink, I don't know. Now, cell phone cameras, it would actually record it as like a little gray line.
Gotcha.
That's very bizarre.
Gotcha. Good stuff. I appreciate the phone call, man.
Cell phone camera.
We are out of time. I got to go to a break. You're the best. This is Doug in Minnesota. He's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. It's called GameVet02. You can find the link all the way down at the bottom of our YouTube page. I appreciate the call, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for giving us a call.
Thanks, buddy.
Have a great night. Sorry for cutting you off there. Ran out of time. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're talking about invisibility tech. Do you think this is real or fake? Don't go anywhere. More conversation about this and taking your calls when we return. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
So
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show's live. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And of course, what do? We talk about aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As usual, we're taking your phone calls as we stream on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And of course, we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. The number to call tonight if you want to be part of the discussion. And by the way, we're talking about, yeah, that's right, the invisible man, the invisible woman, the invisible person, the invisible tank, jet, plane, or car. How about invisibility tech? Is it real? Is it fake? Clearly, we know about the F-22 Raptors. We know about the military and their technologies and how they want to gain every advantage they can. But do you think we've actually cracked, as humans, the secret to invisibility? And if that's the case, well, what are the implications? How long do you think this has been around? How prevalent is it? And do we have invisible people walking around outside right now? Do I have a CIA individual, invisible, looking in my window right now? Well, I hope not, because it's an underground bunker and there are no windows. So sorry, CIA. But that's what's on my mind tonight. That's what we're thinking about. If you want to be part of the show, you can reach us at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037 if you want to be part of the show. You can also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And you can find the Discord link there and the phone number and all the things you need, including a place to buy nice merchandise for Troubled Minds if you're into that, if you want to support the show. And, well, of course, we have another Discord rolling at fringe.fm/chat. I'm watching all the chat rooms and trying to read all your thoughts and keep up with what's going on here. Shout out to a couple folks in the Fringe chat room. We got Dawn's out there. We got Penelope. What's up, Vic? I see you guys. I appreciate you posting stuff in there and trying to contribute to the conversation. I just have my eyes in 7 different places, trying to keep up with all of it. So, okay. But that's the question tonight. The question on my mind is, do we have invisibility? Do we have this technology? And if so, what are the social implications? What are the military implications? What are the implications in its entirety? It seems like it would change everything, right? Like Joseph said when he called not too long ago, that, well, of course, the police would have to know about it because they have to be able to enforce this technology, things like this. Well, if the government, or let's say the military at large, DARPA or something, got a hold of invisibility technology, do you think they just let the cops have it or know about it? I think, again, power, right? Knowledge is power. Stealth is power. All this stuff is power. I'm not so sure. That's just one guy's opinion. What the heck do I know? Pretty much a whole lot of nothing. But anyway, looking to hear from you. What are your thoughts tonight? 702-957-1037. Let's go to our good buddy Joe in Florida. Joe, welcome to the show. How are you, my man?
Not too bad. I hope everybody's having a good week for Wednesday Hump Day. But it's a good, excellent topic. I think when Game Vet, Joe called, and then Game Vet describing some of those things, a few people went up in the chat, me included. I've said it before, but quite a few years ago, it was in November, and I was down in the Acker River camping on the river, and there was, I think it was a Leonoid meteor shower. It was a meteor shower, and I was looking, just staring at the sky, zoned out, and there were other people with me, but they were talking, drinking, paying attention to the fire. And, coming right down the river, right over my head, was a chevron, a V. I posted the picture in the show chat on Discord. And I see this V come right overhead. It had a couple of, can't remember if it was probably 5 lights, 2 and 2, and one in the middle on the surfaces. And it was there, but it wasn't. It was like in a self-enveloped cloud. It went right overhead. All I could spit out of my mouth was UFO. And, of course, the people you're with are like, what? You're crazy. You couldn't hear it. But it was right overhead, a couple of blinks of an eye, and it was gone. I said UFO, but back of my head, I kept thinking that's something that we have as far as the government. And why I say that is because I don't think we have full cloaking technologies based on what I think I've seen. I think at night, if you paint something black, and maybe you could mess with the electromagnetic field in such a way that you obviously couldn't put a pilot in there, but you could probably have shielded electronics to control it, or have it programmed or pre-programmed on a flight, or being controlled by satellite, or just a drone being controlled by a human. I think that was the feeling that I got when I saw that go down the river. We've got an Air Force base here, MacDill, and it wouldn't be a hard way to get something out of MacDill, through the woods, through the swamp, and out in South Florida and across the Gulf of Mexico, because that's where it was headed. Back to UFOs now, things we've seen, things I've seen. It's probably about a year and a half ago. I saw something right above the house in the street that I live on. Come running inside. Sky was clear. Sky was clear at night. And I come running out, and I think Game Vet had said it. It was starting to envelop itself in a cloud, in some kind of a cloud. And I'm like, how the heck? I'm like, it's a clear sky, and it's a cloudy, and that's what I saw with my own 2 eyes. The craft that was the V, it looked more like a cloaked Klingon vehicle, like you would see. It was definitely there. You could see it, but it was like it was trying to hide its own black cloud. I'm like static interference, maybe. Now that you talk about it, almost like if you were watching a TV channel full of static, and you would see some kind of a shape go through the static of the TV. like awake, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it was definitely a UFO, though, right? You don't think it was ours? It was definitely something that was maybe otherworldly. And I think that's the weird question here.
Mm-hmm.
I ask you that because, like I said previously, so if we're talking about invisibility technology, cloaking tech, well, we talk about interdimensional stuff and phasing in and out of this reality, things like that. I guess if it was going invisible, we wouldn't know, would we? We would think that it was maybe phasing out, or maybe that's why we can't get a good picture of a UFO. They're always in some sort of like in-between process, and that's all we see. Who knows? But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and that's exactly, what I was thinking. It was probably based on something that we captured, or something that crashed, whether it was Roswell or somewhere else in the world. A lot of people make the stretch that a lot of our gains in technology have come from something that maybe we retrieved or recovered. Definitely think that's probably why we can't get a clear picture. So, that's kind of what I'm left with now. Whether we could do it with flesh and blood, I don't think so. I think we're trying to get there just with the vehicles alone. And then the question would beg that if the vehicle is cloaked, can you cloak a weapons system on it, or is the vehicle itself a weapon? Other countries right now have these hypersonic weapons. You would think that we would be ahead of the curve. Maybe we're kind of not, because we've got something that's better than that. I don't know. Maybe we've got something that they would never see coming. So it just makes you go, I just keep looking at these hypersonic weapons, and I'm like, did we really fall that behind in technology, or did we have something else? Again, we've reviewed this. Why would you take the SR-71 out of service unless you had the Aurora, unless you had something better? And everything that would be better would have to have slightly better stealth technology, whether that's the carbon fiber Kevlar and electronic jamming, and maybe it's a drone to the point where it could distort the field. And the other thing that I get at is, if the Eldridge was a true story, the Philadelphia experiment, if that was true, I'd be willing to bet that we didn't have the computer technology to phase everybody back, so that they didn't end up buried in the decks, like you hear about that story when the bodies were, buried in the deck of the ship, and they all came back and everybody was in madness. And the only reason why the two brothers, I think it was the two people or one, survived was because they jumped overboard and into the water. And that kind of part makes sense, because if you phase, I would assume that if you phased in water, you'd still be able to get around and be alive, as opposed to coming out on the deck of a ship with half your body parts all over the place. And maybe we achieved it then, and it was partially successful. And now with the computers and the equipment and the technology and the materials have surfaced, that we could really start making that magic, be real, and not, and maybe not harm a pilot, maybe not hurt whoever's in there. So.
Yeah, pretty wild. And I think, speaking in terms of UFOs and aliens and the rest of that stuff, I mean, I think pretty obviously you wouldn't come to like a possible hostile, even more primitive technological civilization and visit Earth, say, without some sort of cloaking technology, right? I mean, and, some sort of defensive stuff. So I think speaking in terms of UFOs, I think cloaking makes a ton of sense. But I'm not sure about us, about our technology, about these Air Force bases, about what's happening with reality. Like I said, flesh and blood, right? Probably not. But if you were able to make this into just some sort of like cloaking paste, you could just rub it on your skin like camouflage, and that it wouldn't need to be super high tech at all. It would just be like this quantum whatever's going on.
It would be effective at night. I mean, we know that they have that. What's it? It's Vanta Black. It's that color. I think it's called Vanta Black. It's so so dark. I mean, we probably have some ability. It's the definition of cloaking. Can we just kind of hide something in plain sight, like camouflage? Is it camouflage or is it cloaking? I mean, if you were going to develop that, you would develop it and experiment with it at night. Because again, if we painted something black and flew it at night without the moon, you could probably still see it, but it would be difficult, and you would at least be able to see heat signatures. Can we maybe mess with the electromagnetic field and manipulate it somewhat? Yeah, we can. But I don't know how many of these things are seen during the day that might be ours. I would be willing to guess that anything that's seen during the day would be totally like aliens from like another planet or some other place technology. You know, like a predator. The predator was able to hide during the day and blend in with the colors. I don't think we have that technology. I think at best, if we have some kind of blended camouflage, stealth, cloaking technology, at best it would have to be used at night.
Exactly. All right, I'm with you. I'm doubtful as well, but again, if we got a breakaway civilization that's done, advanced propulsion, well, then why not cloaking? So I'm going to drink a lot of the maybe juice tonight and say maybe. That's where I'm at with it. About the same.
All right. Yep. That's my. Yeah. That's. I'm the same. You know. I think. I think they're going to get there. You know, if physics. You know, if physics bears it out, and the science and the math bears it out. You know, and we know that light can bend around mass of a planet. You know, they can maybe create it. Maybe they've created it with CERN and a mini black hole. I mean, we can see light bending here and there. I mean, can you make something totally invisible? No. We could probably, I don't know, but we could probably bend light enough to create that distortion.
Exactly.
Right. That's it. I mean, it's different than phasing out. I mean, I would think if we phased out, like a ghost or like we talked about yesterday, that's different but the same, I guess. If you were going to observe, maybe aliens could just vibrate themselves to a different frequency and watch us. So, but I've chatted long enough. Somebody else get a chance. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Joe. Joe in Florida, always a blast. Have a fantastic night, brother. We'll talk to you soon. God bless you and the family. There you go. Simple as that. 702-957-1037. We're talking about invisibility technology. Do you think we have access to this as people? That was Joe in Florida. Been a long time friend of the show. Good stuff. And we're looking to hear from you. Let's actually go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well. Go right ahead.
Well, okay, so with invisibility, they're saying that there has to be like two different things present. Well, technically three, really. Like one of them is that the light has to bend around it, right? You were saying that earlier. And like the light would need to bend. It's one way that the light would bend around the object and then therefore would cast no shadow. It would need to cast no shadow. And then also, too, would have no reflection. And that's really interesting when you're bringing up the supernatural aspect of it, because in Talmudic lore, when they talk about, like, if you see a person who might actually be some kind of supernatural being, like a demon, or actually literally just a demon presenting itself, it won't cast a shadow. And I always thought that was really creepy, because I'd never heard that before until just now. When you were talking, like, when you think about the way that if light were bending around an object, you know, if you kind of think about like a rock, I heard it described this way. If you take a stone and you have it in a stream and the water is flowing around it, the way that the water is flowing past the rock is the way that the light would be kind of acting. And so you wouldn't be seeing the rock if it was light. You would just be seeing the water behind it. So it'd kind of be like you'd be seeing the light behind the object and make it invisible. And that's the same kind of concept that you would have in like in instances of these supernatural beings that might have this ability. But then too, you know, and they always ask for this too. Like it made me think of in Dr. Faustus, he asks Mephistopheles to give him a charm to make him invisible too. So it comes, and then obviously Lord of the Rings. Like the weird thing about the Lord of the Rings lore, I think that's really cool is, you know, I think with the instance of that, they were saying, like in the books anyway, with Sauron, why he's not invisible when he's wearing it is because he's some kind of, it has to do with he's like in the in the dimension that is, I think it's like a wraith dimension. So like when Frodo or Bilbo puts it on, I don't know if anybody's into Lord of the Rings or anything, but when he puts the ring on, he's in between the two worlds, so he's invisible to both. So he's like, that's how that's working. I don't know how they would apply that to technology. But then when you look at the technology that they're doing, they're using, I guess it's some kind of, like, aren't they using nanowires and something called metamaterial is what I found on it. And they've already kind of come close, but they haven't got it perfected. Like it's doing some of those things. It's spinning the light around the object. They're able to make the object translucent, but you can still kind of see them. Like even with the quantum stealth technology stuff that they're doing in the military. So they've almost figured it out, which means they probably could have figured it out for sure. But when you think about other cultures, like other civilizations, I mean, possibly figuring it out, I don't see why it would be out of the realm of possibility at all that they'd have this, because it's got something to do with, they have to affect the electrical wavelengths and the magnetic field as well. But just on the light spectrum alone, all they have to do is, affect the visible light spectrum. And so, and I guess, I don't know. It seems like if you think about the other aspects of these, I don't know. I think it's really cool though.
Yeah, well, and again, if this is the case and we actually have perfected this somewhere, even some secret laboratory like we're always talking about, right? There's some underground laboratory that's done all these nefarious things, theoretically. Well, it would kind of turn everything upside down. I mean, you see, like the Invisible Man or some of these other TV tropes, they become sociopaths, right? Because they're no longer accountable to society at large. Pretty bizarre implications, any of this. And look at Gollum in Lord of the Rings, right? He became sort of corrupted by the ring, and maybe it's the same sort of thing. If you cannot be accountable to society itself, well, you become a monster. If you catch my meaning.
I guess. Yeah, I guess so. It seems like that would be the case because they can do whatever they want to, and live how they please and do what they want because no one's seeing them. So, yeah, exactly. They would become a golem, or like in the case of like casting a reflection, even like when you do think about the aspects that are necessary to be completely, really, truly invisible. It is true that you couldn't cast a shadow, and you couldn't have a reflection. Just like in the vampire lore and the demonic lore and stuff. So I think I don't know, but it's absolutely true. Even so, the fact that they were recognizing that in the supernatural world, and we now know that the technology would be required, it would be required to have those components in place to make somebody invisible, makes you kind of wonder if there was some truth to it. When they were talking about the vampire lore casting a reflection, the reason would be that it's invisible, or not actually in this light spectrum in some way, and it's bending the light around itself. And so therefore could actually exist, because in all those ancient lores talking about that, demons casting no shadows and vampires not having a reflection, they had to have known somewhat that it has something to do, or maybe they didn't, but what's actually at work is that the light is bending around these objects, and then you're looking at the light you're looking at the back of the light, basically. And so the thing is actually, it's there, but it's invisible to your eye. But isn't it just strange that in those lores, they have the exact science of it down and didn't even realize it?
Exactly. The plot thickens. Great stuff as always, Jennifer. Please give Jennifer a follow. She's got a YouTube channel. Link is in the description. Thank you for the phone call, my friend. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Thank you very much. There you go. Phone number 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Love to hear your thoughts. Invisibility technology. Is it a thing? Is it science fiction? Is it somewhere in between? Love to hear your thoughts. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More invisibility, magic, the USS Eldridge, and you when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And of course, we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. you want to be part of the show tonight, we're talking about invisibility technology. What does it mean? Do humans actually have access to this? And if so, what does it mean for military, for society, for the future? And how dare I say, what does it mean for the past? Including, of course, well, that means that is it possible that in the past, as Jennifer stated when she called in recently, maybe the vampires and all the rest of this stuff that the ancients were talking about, no reflections in mirrors, light refraction, and all this stuff may have been a thing in the past. Who knows? We're still taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can find the phone number and the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. All right, so let's do this. This is some pretty good stuff here regarding this. Now, let's get to the Philadelphia experiment for just a sec. And this is why I think this is pretty fascinating, the idea of the Invisibility Cloak, right? The Harry Potter cloak or whatever it is. Let's see. Phone line isn't working. That's cool. All right. That's okay. All good, Derek. Copy that. Meaning that this, right? The invisible ship, all right, back with the Philadelphia experiment. The reason why it's compelling to me right now is because this was back in the 1940s. We're talking literally World War II era stuff. And they were discussing this cloaking technology, and not just like the stealth fighter, right? We have that's that hidden in plain sight stuff that Joe described, right? We have that the ability to camouflage, as Matt said earlier in the chat as well. There's a lot of that camouflage stuff in nature even the chameleons, how they have the spotted patterns on leopards and mountain lions and things like this, where they blend right into their backgrounds, right? That's the hidden in plain sight stuff where you literally just blend right in. But then there's also the second step of that, which is like the stealth fighters, like the F-22, where you can see it. It's not actually invisible, but it's invisible on radar. Okay, that's something different, right? It's a signature the size of a bird, a radar signature, something like that, right? So they can't tell like an entire pack of F-22s are flying in because they're so quiet and they're so difficult to detect on traditional radars. So that's not what I'm talking about, right? Those things are real. What I'm talking about is this, though. The invisible ship. Look at this. This is from a website called theclever.com, and it's talking about 15 shocking facts about the Philadelphia experiment. And this was where it all started. The whole reason they did the Philadelphia experiments to begin with, according to lore, again, I can't confirm or deny this. I'm not old enough to have been around to have witnessed this, but I'm not as old as a Night Stalker, by the way. Happy 5-0. Here we go. So this is straight from again, theclever.com, the invisible ship. Over the decades, the Philadelphia experiment has become part urban myth, part legend, and totally fascinating for conspiracy theorists the world over. The truth is, the U.S. Navy was working on a type of invisibility technology. They wanted to reduce and bend the magnetic fields of their ships to avoid triggering mines and torpedoes. And yes, the research was conducted at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. The USS Timmerman was the site of several experiments relating to this project in the 1940s. It was outfitted with a high-frequency generator that created discharges to disrupt the magnetic field. These experiments definitely happened, and this is one part of the story that's absolutely fact. And there you go. So, and even though we're talking conspiracy and all the rest of this stuff, it's there you go. It definitely, for sure, in the 1940s, they were trying to create these invisibility cloaking shields or whatever you want to call these things. I don't know what this is, but look what they're talking about. They're talking about bending magnetic fields. They're talking about, right, trying to be invisible to mines and torpedoes, things like this. And also, of course, to the naked eye, because, well, what good is it if you can still like take a telescope and see it, right? Then you can still launch rockets at it in the old school manual way, especially back in World War II. So that's the weirdness of this. And the thing that makes the conversation compelling to me is that even we have direct evidence of this, the governments and the powers that be trying to create this invisibility effect way back in the 1940s. And I mean, crying out loud, that's a lifetime ago, right? I mean, that's literally a lifetime ago. So imagine what they could accomplish in an entire lifetime since. It's pretty nuts that well, maybe I'm drinking the maybe juice tonight, and I'm gonna say maybe that there's actually a very real possibility that we have maybe perfected some sort of cloaking device that can not only cloak vehicles, but I would suspect could also cloak individuals, human beings, right? And so if that's the case, well, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. So all the way back to the Philadelphia experiment. Well, past that, of course, we have all the stuff in fiction, like we talked about Lord of the Rings, Frodo, Bilbo, the Gollum and the One Ring and that thing. And then like Jennifer described how he was sort of in between worlds, and Sauron when he wore the ring. Pretty good stuff if you guys are Lord of the Rings fans. That's one of those ones it's deep. That's some pretty deep like its own mythology. It's so deep. It's pretty amazing stuff. If you guys don't know Lord of the Rings, that's one of those ones. If you haven't dug into the books and you've just seen the movies, you're doing yourself a huge disservice there. But so I don't know, like regarding just this invisibility stuff, if it was one of those situations where we had them in the in today's world and people were able to cloak themselves, what kind of implications, right? So not only am I fascinated with the implications here, and like I said, maybe there's a invisible CIA guy in the window staring at me right now, in the bunker, wink, wink. And I don't know. I don't know. Like, this is the type of stuff that, we talk about the surveillance state, we talk about spying, and we talk about all the rest of this. That would be the ultimate spy, right? You could just put on your invisibility Harry Potter thing and boom, you're just chilling out there in the Grand Central Station, just listening to everything that goes on, right? Bumping into people. How about that? Has anybody ever actually bumped into something that they thought maybe was invisible? Like you didn't see something there and you turned really quick and were like, felt like something brushed by you, but you never saw anything? Things like that happen. I think that's happened to me once or twice, and it makes me wonder if I'm like tripping and stone cold sober. By the way, it wasn't one of those nights. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like, I think there's a lot here to this, considering if maybe we've perfected this, and again, that going all the way back to 1942, especially like what we know about DARPA and technology as we see it. So back to this article real quick. This is again from scifi.com. Invisibility is a power now within reach because of a really bizarre phenomenon. And what they're talking about here is the Pauli exclusion principle, of course, aka Pauli blocking. If the max number of fermions occupy one quantum state, none of them can move to another. And this is what an MIT research team led by Yair Margalit found out. The results were recently published in Science articles here. And here's the quote from Margalit. Quote, under regular conditions, when a fermionic atom scatters light, it experiences a recoil velocity, like a kick due to absorbing and emitting a photon, Margalit told Sci-Fi Wire. In the ultra-cold regime, I think maybe regime sounds wrong. In the ultra-cold region, this atom would simply not scatter light as it would under regular conditions. Is that like a typo, like a text typo thing? I don't know. Anyway, but it is because of the Pauli blocking that an atom which is frozen to extremes can become unable to scatter light and therefore seem invisible. When photons stream through a cloud of atoms, they cause the atoms to bounce off of each other, which scatters the photons and makes matter visible to the human eye. That cloud of atoms grows denser and denser as temperatures plummet, and any given atom that was subjected to recoil velocity should be pushed into a different quantum state. But the Pauli exclusion principle prevents that. Therefore, they cannot scatter light. And if using this technology, you're able to create some sort of a cloaking device, or like when Joe called there a little bit earlier, maybe some sort of camouflage paste or something that you could just rub on your skin with whatever this technology is. I don't know if that's even possible, but you would expect, right? If they're kind of coming up with this stuff now, how long ago did DARPA come up with this stuff? And I think that's why this is super fascinating. Like I said, back to 1942, the USS Eldridge, and the rest of that conspiracy, the Philadelphia experiment goes way deep in that conspiracy rabbit hole, because it gets into time travel and teleportation and all kinds of crazy stuff. But if you have this, where we're literally talking about that whole conspiracy started with a real experiment where they were trying to cloak actual ships at sea to make them not just, as we said earlier, not to hide in plain sight, actually invisible. And that's where some of this really starts to get pretty crazy, right? And so I don't know. I have no idea if this is real or not. Like I said, I wish I knew the answers to a lot of these questions that we're always asking on this show, but I don't. And I think that's what makes it great in a number of ways, because life is supposed to be a little mysterious anyway, isn't it? I'm okay not knowing the answers, but it is fascinating to me to be able to kind of chase these things down and at least think about them in practical terms, and be able to look at, cite some of the scientific papers and articles and things that come come out. And so I don't know. So what are your thoughts? Do you think at some point humans have mastered the ability to become invisible? And like we said earlier, when Jennifer called, I think there's some pretty huge implications to society if that's what's happening here. And well, clearly we live in the upside down, so I'm willing to believe it. But what do you think they'd be doing with this? Clearly, short of like military applications. Imagine like covert ops in the middle of the night type stuff. You put. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, let's. So I dug into a bunch of this stuff, and there's all kinds of stuff here. So now this is pretty nuts, right? If you go, like I said, the article we started with tonight was here. This was from Sci-Fi, and this was just from a couple days ago. But check this out. This is from the New York Post, and this is all the way back in March of 2016. And yeah, wouldn't you know it? Back then, they're saying invisibility cloaks are real and surprisingly cheap. And I'll play this YouTube video. Let's see, turn the sound off, and you guys can watch this as they do their thing and walk around back and forth and kind of pass in front of and behind this little invisibility cloak. And you can see the magic trick going on. But here we go. A physicist at the University of Rochester is trying to make Harry Potter's invisibility cloak a reality. Professor John Howell's first attempt at the optical illusion captured on video a year and a half ago is a setup of 4 lenses that bend light around viewed objects, making them seem invisible while the viewer still sees a consistent, stable background. If you watch that video, you see what's going on with that, and you see the trick. They got the little kid hiding behind the pane of glass there, but the light is bending around the pane of glass. So the older kid comes behind, and he stands there, and you can see there's an actual. Let's see. I just put this up on the thing here so we can do it this way and go like this. And we'll just loop this and play it. But so they were talking about this way back in 2016, and they were able to actually do this with just some tricks of light, right? Bending lenses and bending light a little bit, and with this little shield. And you can see that they're literally making one part or the other invisible, and with just this little frame of glass and some lenses. And they're saying that this cloaking device, this simple optical cloaking device, was made for under $150. And that was back in 2016. So point being here is that, what in the world's going on? If this was the case, and we've had this technology for a while, what are they actually using in the military? Do you think there's actually something to this with, maybe they found a way to hide their tanks behind these, I don't know, panes of glass or plastic or whatever this happens to be? Pretty crazy stuff. I have no idea, but let's read a little bit more from this article. So Howell's second go at the project is bigger. A person, not just an object, can stand behind it and disappear. Reported by, and again, this goes back, like I said, we're going all the way back to 1940s with the Philadelphia experiment, but reported by Business Insider on Wednesday, but first tested in 2013. This version of the Rochester Cloak, is what they're calling it, uses 4 mirrors arranged in nested V-shapes instead of lenses. If the video at the top of the story, you can see Howell's son Benjamin and Isaac help demonstrate that light bounces around the mirrors. Little Isaac's torso and legs seem to disappear, while the tiled wall behind him remains clearly visible through the middle of the device. The best part, the mirrored contraption costs just $150 to make, and all the materials needed can be found at a local hardware store. Howell has published the research in academic journals, sure, but he's given thought to the broader applications of such a tool. He said in 2014 that it could allow a surgeon to look through his hands to what he is actually operating on. A University of Rochester News Center article continued. The same principles could be applied to a truck to allow drivers to see through blind spots on their vehicles. So, well, again, this goes all the way back to 2016 and when this article was written, and this YouTube video as well, where they actually demonstrate the thing and say that it's done for cheap, $150. So we're in this, right? We're talking about a little bit of trickery, right? We got some lenses, we got some mirrors, we got some things happening, and right, you can make things clearly invisible. But, right, even that's not what I'm talking about. What about some sort of technology? What about some sort of spell? What about some sort of suit, maybe, that you put on and it will turn you invisible? That's what's on my mind tonight. And, of course, well, the question remains, do you think we have this sort of technology? Okay, and I wish I had those answers. I just don't. I'm not the answers guy, as you know. I'm not the guy here trying to tell everybody what's really going on in the world. But I do think there are a lot of fascinating ways to attack these questions, and here we are. And that's why we do it in this format with all the amazing calls and all the amazing chat. And I see you guys out there. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And, well, I don't know. I'm going to guess. So if I got to make a guess here, right? Like let's do the 49%, 51% sort of thing. The maybe juice, right? If I'm drinking some maybe juice, and I got to guess that if they've been working on true invisibility since the 1940s for military applications, and we know DARPA is probably 30 to 40 years ahead of where we're at in the commercial sector with technology, I'm going to guess that yes. I'm going to guess that probably in some capacity we have actually been able to come up with cloaking devices somehow, some way. I don't know what that would entail. Of course, I'm not a scientist. You know me, just a jerk on the internet with a microphone. But I would think that given the value of this actual thing in military terms, it would probably be one of the highest priorities, right? Short of like all the woo stuff that we always talk about, including like Project Stargate and remote viewing and some of the stuff the CIA was into in the old days, that they may still be into, by the way. But I don't know. I think if I have to do the 51-49 thing, I think I'm going to say yeah. I think I'm going to drink some maybe juice, and I'm going to say, my opinion, I would guess, just according to a lot of these articles that go back, again, 2016, 2013, all the way back to the 1940s when they were experimenting on making ships disappear, I'm going to say yeah. Again, just taking a hip shot guess here based on some of the research I did tonight, kind of in a cursory manner just for the show. I didn't go super deep into this to get into the quantum realm and the photons and this thing and that thing. I didn't do all that. But I think if we're talking in terms of that right now, with some of these scientific experiments and papers that are happening, it stands to reason that, well, at some point they've probably jumped all over this. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Still got time if you guys want to jump in here and get on the phone, 702-957-1037. As you know, it doesn't matter what I think because I am not the arbiter of truth. I'm just one guy, and telling you I think probably maybe, and we'll go 51% yes. I think this is probably a thing. Let me pull this up and we'll do this real quick. So they got some, these actual things, these invisibility things that they say have been debunked. Snopes has debunked them, and Snopes has debunked it and all the rest of this. But I'll get to this in just a sec. There's a suit called a nanophotonic refraction stealth operator suit. We'll get to that in just a sec. So, okay, looking to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think this invisibility technology is real? Are people using it now? And if so, what are the implications? If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Let's go to Robert in Pennsylvania. The Robert, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm fine. On that article, that first one I asked you to link to, what I was curious about, this particular paragraph, it said, under regular conditions, when the fermionic atom scatters light, it experiences recoil velocity like a kick due to absorbing and emitting a photon. In the ultra-cold regime, this atom would simply not scatter light as it would under regular conditions. And the reason I bring that up is, everybody's familiar with walking into a room and suddenly feeling a sense of real chill, real cold.
Oh,
this is rather common. This is rather common when it comes to ghosts. And I'm wondering, is that why we can't see ghosts? Is because they're ultra cold atoms, that make them invisible?
I like where you're going. I like where you're going. So they have said in many instances that people that experience that paranormal phenomenon have actually felt a chill. So what if it is this, like you're describing in there, is this ultra cold quantum state that's keeping whatever it is invisible? And so it's not a ghost at all. It's, well, the CIA. I love it, man.
maybe, or maybe spirits are invisible due to that phenomenon.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it goes both ways.
It's just the maybe juice. All right. Speaking. All right.
That's all right. You're in the right place.
It's just a thought. It's just a thought that it's so common in hauntings that you walk into a haunted house or room and you suddenly feel, that kind of really nasty chill. And it seems to me like this possibly could be tied into this type of phenomenon.
Makes sense to me.
Where if this phenomenon was not at work on this ghost, then you'd be able to see it. And maybe sometimes there's a breakdown, and that's why you can. When those few times when you actually can see a ghost is when there's a breakdown in that phenomenon briefly.
Gotcha. All right. So like we talked about that weird quantum world last night, we can kind of add that to the quantum weirdness of if those particles are in flux constantly, like we said last night, with all that other crazy stuff, including the time traveling atoms and all the rest. Then, if we're in a constant state of flux, then maybe the ghosts are too. And I like it. So, as we said last night, if we get agitated and people sense that frequency, maybe ghosts get the same thing. And that's how they kind of come through. They interrupt this state of cold, whatever it is, cold quantum invisibility. I guess you could call it that. I love it. Great stuff, Robert.
Yeah. Okay. I know you're going to close the show, so I'll continue to watch the next hour.
Appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for the call. That's Robert in Pennsylvania.
Talk to you later.
Thanks for the call. He's got a book called Stories from a Fractured Mind. Check out his stuff down below. Link in the description. He writes science fiction and consciousness and spirits and time travel and all the rest of the stuff we love talking about. So he's certainly in the right place. But that's an amazing point that if maybe it's not just this sort of thing, it's maybe it is. Maybe this actual quantum phenomenon doesn't exist just in a technological perspective. It also exists in a paranormal perspective. I like it. The cold chill you get when you come into a room and sense a spirit or something. I wonder if it's this effect. All right, so before we go real fast, I want to point this out too. There's this thing. This is called harrysarmysurplus.net, and check this out. You'll never believe this. It's called the GI Gen 6 Nanophotonic Refraction Stealth Operator Suit, right? And it looks like, I don't know, just a gray suit, right? It looks like a gray suit, but this suit is $12,378.99. So surely it's not just a gray suit, is it? So if you look at the two photographs, one of them it's like the suit, and the other photograph it's not there. It's invisible. So, if anybody's got $12,378.99 to burn, well, let's test this suit, shall we? Oh boy! All right, so we're talking about invisibility tonight, and I don't know. As you know me, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. We're just trying to have a conversation and consider the possibilities. So, if I was a betting man, I would say, I would think that probably, right? I'm going to give it 51% that yes, I would think that. Got just one person's opinion. Don't take it any more than that. Just that we probably have achieved some sort of invisibility tech, and what that means for society and everything else. Well, I think probably that would be more safeguarded than UFOs, right? Because think about how that would break down society if you had some people with access to invisibility suits and other people that did not have access. Oh boy. The troubled minds. All right. So as we finish this up, this is what's going on. As we finish up on the Fringe, if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void coming up next. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. We're going to keep on trucking, doing our thing, talking about this, and take your phone calls. As we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. we are off of the fringe, which means we got a third hour of Trouble Minds coming up, and which means we're still taking your phone calls. We're talking about this invisibility technology. Do you think this is real? Do you think that since the 1940s and the USS Eldridge and the Philadelphia experiment, there's actually been, well, some sort of breakthrough where a technological advantage has been gained through invisibility itself, whether that's for ships, planes, cars, dogs, cats, you and me, or all of the above? You tell me. I mean, we know Operation Acoustic Kitty, where they tried to put the sound recording device in the cat to try and listen to the Russians in the park in the Cold War, and well, the cat ran out and got hit by a taxi cab, right? I mean, hurting cats, etc. So if they're doing stuff like that, you gotta figure, like they kind of go through all these links. If you look at some of the actual MK Ultra stuff, some of the lengths they went to just try and get some ridiculous things to happen. You gotta know they've been working on invisibility for a damn long time. So that's what's going on. We got Kelly here. I see there. Kelly, hang tight. We'll get to you in just a sec. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll get to Kelly in just one moment. And we're still taking your phone calls as we consider this, right? We consider all these things. How much of this could be true? Again, a Gen 6 nanophotonic refraction stealth operator suit. I kind of want one now. But all right. Anyway, so we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. Let's play some of this. We got Kelly on the line. Hang tight, buddy. We'll get right to you. He just jumped in here, and here we go.
This is Michael Strange.
Let's skip that and skip right to that. 2-minute break. More Trouble Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. Taking your phone calls, talking about invisibility. Is this real or nah? Up to you. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and tonight we're talking about invisibility technology. Basically, it's like this, right? Back to 1940s, the USS Eldridge was rumored to have been the subject of what is known as the Philadelphia experiment. And it started with again, the rumor is this. It started with the Albert Einstein unified field theory, where they were trying to use the electromagnetic field somehow to cloak these ships, right? And that's how it started. It was a cloaking device, literally just invisible, making things disappear, and not just hidden in plain sight with optical illusions and things like this, which has been used for centuries for sure in warfare and other places, right? Illusionists and all the rest of that. But on top of that, they were trying to actually make these things disappear, literally disappear. And so with that, of course, that conspiracy goes into a whole nother rabbit hole of the Philadelphia experiment, Al Bielek, time travel, teleportation, and all kinds of crazy stuff. But we're not doing that. Well, I mean, we can if you want to do that, because it's the third hour. The third hour is to kind of stretch our legs and just say, whatever. We're going to talk about whatever the hell we want, because nobody tells us what to say or nobody tells us what to think. So if you want to talk about any of that stuff, it's all on the table, of course. What about the paranormal aspect? What about what Robert said? I think that's a fantastic thing. What about UFOs? What about all the rest of that? How does this all play in? Maybe it is. Maybe it's all related somehow, and that's what's coming up next. So love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Phone numbers on troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and we'll put you on the show just like this. Kelly's on Discord, our good friend Kelly from Colorado. What's up? How you doing, my man? How you doing?
Hey, good evening. How you doing?
Doing okay. I killed that so you shouldn't hear the echo anymore. Doing well, man. I think this is weird, right? I know now I know you were a military man. I'm not asking you to divulge any classified information if you know something about this, but what are your thoughts regarding just this Philadelphia experiment in the 1940s all the way to now, where you can buy this bizarre-ass GI Gen 6 nanophotonic refraction stealth operator suit for $12,000? What do you think's going on here?
So for the Philadelphia experiment, right? So the story that they give, and that, the same story that you kind of read earlier about how they're saying that the true story of it was that, they were, wrapping the ship with some oils, and, that to try to make it invisible from radar or sonar. But That right there is a lie, because I'm going to tell you why. What they're doing is called degaussing, right? And they take, and it is true, they take, we take big cables, different types of metal, and we wrap it around the whole ship, both sides down. We put, there's like throughout the ship from bow to stern, all the way to the front and back. And the reason for that, for degaussing, because when you have that ship, something like that big, it's real magnetic through the Earth's magnetic field, right? It makes the ship more magnetic. So the reason why they were doing that, and it is true that they were saying that it kind of makes it invisible, but the only way it makes it invisible is to, like, mines, right? Because ships are metal, and if you want to degauss a ship, you don't want to have a magnetic if you're going through some of these during wartime land mines, floating mines that are out there, So it's a self defense mechanism for that. So, but what the Eldridge was doing, they were trying to literally make that thing disappear, like offer, not so it's not being picked up by radar. But it was, I think, that's what their story they're giving, right? But if you're messing around with something like that, okay, and the way, I can't remember what's the name again. He was on the Eldridge. Right now. The way he's explaining it, because he was an electrician, right? So I've been down in there. I had to get, like, I got different warfares, right? Planes and stuff. They have to learn about the air, the ships that you're on. And I was mostly on aircraft carriers. But, yeah, you can't, some of that stuff that they were doing, they know exactly what they were doing, because they wanted to have that thing disappear. But when they came back, see, the sailors at the time, they were walking around. If they would probably stayed still, they wouldn't have, I don't think they would have any issues. But they were still walking around the ship, and when it dematerialized, that's where you hear the story, they were sticking out the sides of it. But the degaussing story, I don't buy. So, for me, I kind of listen to, I listen to all the videos that he has. And I don't know, man. In some ways, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to believe, but in other ways, it's a fascinating story. I'll just tell you that. I can't say that I believe him, but some of the stuff he's saying is pretty interesting, because, the way the maps, were that he's explained. But anyway, if you know the story, it's a pretty intriguing story. But another thing too that was kind of brought up was that someone brought up was about DARPA and the tanks. But actually, the defense contractor was BAE. They do military contracts with us, but they're more of a British company, right? And what they were trying to eliminate a tank. And again, it's just like with the radar system, right? But they're looking through like night vision or whatever, these or FLIR. And they would disappear literally, because what they had is they look like Kevlar panels, right, that stuck to the side of it. And what it does, it changes they call it adapting camouflage. But what they're doing is they're trying, it's like temperature enhancing. So one way for camouflage against something like that would be temperature. So those panels all change a different temperature, and it literally looks like it's disappearing off of like a FLIR, or night vision. That's the camouflage that the military has as for that. But now, if you want camouflage on aircraft, the only way you're going to do that is if you're going to have the paint scheme, or you're going to have what nanotechnology within that paint scheme, or within the skin, and that skin has got to be, and which most aircraft, that like those fighter aircraft are mostly composite materials. There's some composite materials that we already have now that's already built to where if it was shot with a gun, or with some bullets, it repairs itself. It's got like nanotechnology where it'll repair the hole, so it'd still be more aerodynamic. It's not going to have issues where and even inside gas tanks, around the gas tanks too. That's more of a blabber. But like for the skin itself of the aircraft, I could see. I mean, that was my job. I was an aircraft mechanic. I mean, I've touched and seen a lot of different materials. But the thing about it is, I'm saying is that you would need some kind of nanotechnology. What it is light bending, kind of like Jennifer was saying, and that's the technology that that we have nowadays. First it was like using glass and all the mirrors and stuff, but now there was one in Japan, which actually was even like probably later than 2016, or it could have been the same time frame. But they have a material. It was a cloth. It was a cloak they were wearing. But now, if you take that nanotechnology, right, and you're able to do what like animals do in nature. So you got insects like spiders. They use the outer shells of their, the outer skeletal skin to where it kind of looks like it's more of a blending in more, and then a camouflage or a disappear. Now the other. You have the chameleon that changes different colors, and that's due to the cells that are inside the skin. It'll allow it to reflect light or even change different colors. But the animal that I have more particular, where it almost looks like it just disappears, is an octopus or some type of some other those jellyfish type, those deep sea ones. Because they're more translucent anyway. So, but if you're talking that you can change, and a human capability, I would say it would have to be within the blood like an octopus. Because an octopus, the skin, it's really close to the surface of the skin more than us. So it would, that's how it's able to change. I mean, it changes. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's seen. If you haven't, go ahead and YouTube one, man, because some of these ones that they capture nowadays, I mean, the light reflection, and one that looks just like it just totally disappears, and you can't really say that you're going to disappear with any kind of material anyway, because it's going to be light bending anyway. If you're going to disappear something like that, like Jennifer was saying, you still have a shadow or something. But if you're going to disappear like that, maybe we are talking that it's, transdimensional or something.
Yeah, it is weird how this, usually we're way out there. We're talking about portals and dimensions and all kinds of other whack shit, right? But tonight we're like, okay, wait, but what if that's not happening, and instead it's just some sort of invisibility technology, that light bending, the light refraction, this type of thing. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's probably likely that this is happening. Probably, like you described with the aircraft and all the stuff there. That's fantastic. The paint schemes and like the nano technology inside of all that. That's good stuff. But it's still not truly invisible, is it? It's more of kind of like tricking the human eye, tricking radars, right? That type of stuff. It's not truly invisible.
Well, it's not. To make yourself, the whole aircraft, like if you're saying like a saucer shape, right? The whole skin of it would have to be. So that's why they say sometimes, I believe that, you hear stories that these things are, alive. They're like a robot, but they're alive, right? I don't know. I can't remember the word that's used right now, but yeah. So if you have something like that be able to repair itself and can be able to change not only the color, but also, I would say the whole surface would have to change. Not only that, but like if you want invisibility from heat, you would have to change the whole temperature of the surface of the aircraft. That's how some of that stuff works too. If you change the heat of it, right, through radar systems, that's another thing where I kind of wanted to bring up real quick, just off the beat, was maybe that's why the military wants every type of vision, right? You have night vision, you have flare, you have heat, all these different visions that you want to see. Maybe they're, we are tracking something, that's not only, why would you need something like that? Because you're trying to see something that's in different forms of light. Now, light bending, even with something like that, like said, BAE Technologies had the one for the tank where it was all, again, that was all through just heat. They just changed the heat on the outside of it. But if you can do that with the human, if you could do that with your blood, maybe you would be more or less, disappearing because it's all around your whole body. There's no light. It's not a cloth that you're wearing where you're bending light around you so you can't really see it, So that's why I say the octopus is one of the ones that you could say that could only really disappear. Yes, it's there, but you ain't seeing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess there's two terms then, right? There's like a true invisibility and there's effective invisibility, right? I think I just made that up. I don't know if that's real, but we're just going to roll with that. So effectively invisible is one thing, but what about true invisibility? Like Frodo in the ring. You put on the ring and boom, you're just not there. No shadow, no anything. It's like you maybe phased into another dimension, but you're still there, but you're not there. And that's kind of what we're talking about. So what do you think in those terms? Do you think that the Department of Energy has said that they're kind of like trying to reach into other dimensions as it is? Do you think maybe they've created the One Ring? Maybe through this, I don't know, nanophotonic refraction stealth suit, but better. Magic. I don't know, man. I don't know. I love your expertise on the matter, by the way, because a lot of that stuff you're saying, I kind of get the basics, but I didn't realize sort of what goes into all that. But so thank you for all that amazing stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Also, one thing too, that suit, I kind of blew my mind that you had that up there, because that's almost like something that would be like a first version of what the Navy SEALs would use. And the reason why I say that is because I got some preview of some stuff. I'm not going to say, but plus I had my uncle. He was a Navy SEAL, but he was a Navy SEAL like when they were coming out of Nam and stuff. But they were frogmen, and then they combined it with the SEALs. But he was telling me some of the technology that they were using, and that was back then, 70s. And man, the SEALs have all top of the line. If you believe that it happened, they've got a hold of it. Now, if they have those cloak suits like that, I'm pretty sure that's what they've had that. And the technology, if you at night running through there, you can change the heat and the outer surface of that thing with nanotechnology, light bending technology. You would actually really disappear more or less, because if you ever seen videos and stuff where they think that they captured who knows what it's just like a figure, or some people think it's a ghost. That could be something that because that thing, some of the stuff looks like straight up somebody's wearing a suit, not a ghostly figure. This thing looked like something just walked by. I've seen a few videos like that, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, that has to be somebody accidentally caught a Navy SEAL or a special ops from another country.
Yeah, well, and so exactly. I'm a little shocked it's available, right? So if it really works, right, this Generation 6 nanophotonic refraction stealth operator suit is what we're talking about here. It's even in stock. This is from Harry's Army Surplus. It's $12,000, $12,378 and 99 cents. What's up, 40s? Don't forget the 99 cents. But I mean, so how invisible does this make you then? Do you think? Like, is it kind of like that Predator sort of thing where you just kind of blend into what's behind you?
Yeah, I would say it was more like that. It's that, of course it's going to be, again, light, what they say, light. So everything's behind you is going to show that's in front of you. But you probably wouldn't see them if they're standing still. Like, you wouldn't even, just glancing around. If they're standing still, you ain't seeing them. I'm telling you that right now. But if you're, you might catch something that looks like, I don't know, man. There's times that I've seen some shit that are like, what the fuck was that? And it looked like something ran fucking by, So I don't know if they're, testing this shit out throughout, maybe in, I don't know, could even say that, some SWAT teams might have some shit like that. But I don't know, man. To have, because again, like you said, the technology is not, that hard to actually, to replicate. You just got to have, like, those guys were just using mirrors and, different shades, different planes of glass, which that's what they were using in the first place. But, some of the stuff now you can, I'm pretty sure you can get, shit, you can bulletproof, bulletproof clothing nowadays. So, that technology, especially with the stuff they got now, I wouldn't doubt it, man. I'm pretty sure. Matter of fact, I'm going to say I know they got it. All right, that's all I'm going to say. But it's out there. But for me now, if you want to like have an aircraft, right? Especially sometimes, that's where I kind of think that they do have that technology that that it's either on the skin or the paint, like I was saying. And the reason for that too, because you hear all these people talking about booms, the high altitude booms. They never see nothing. Now, if you was like turbojet and you could hear it, the sonic boom of a hitting the breaking the sound barrier, that's you're gonna still see the aircraft. I've been around. They do all kinds of shows and all that shit for it too. But you're gonna see this aircraft. But if you're literally hearing it and then boom, you hear a sound and there's nothing there, that's got to be something testing. Obviously the military is constantly doing that. But, over these populated areas, they got, maybe they like the Aurora, that's the one that was supposed to be after the SR-71 Blackhawk. And, and nowadays they call it the triangle one that's the TR-3B. Maybe that's the newer technology after that, but you would think that they would have that technology already implemented in these aircraft. You would, if you're talking, stealth and technology like that, which the military is all about.
Yeah, 100%. And that's again the funny comment. Let me make sure I credit this appropriately. Funny comment here. There's a couple funny comments on Rockfin. We got the peanut gallery over here, our local comedians. Charlie says this on Rockfin: if they've been working on it since the 40s, there's probably invisible motherfuckers everywhere. And that's not only funny, it's probably, let's say, accurate, right? Robert also wants to know, if I got a penile implant, would that be considered nanotechnology? There's your jokes. There's your jokes from Rockflame, Kelly. Anyway.
They probably would that too,
man. Yeah. Go ahead. So if this is happening, right? I guess at what point is it magic anymore? Like again, back to that quote by Arthur C. Clarke, right? Magic is just science we don't understand yet. So do you think we've got to the point where we have actual like invisibility, like the One Ring, you put it on your finger and whoop, you're gone? Is it there yet?
Well, about that one, because for me that would sound like you're going into a different dimension. You know what I mean? Yes, you're kind of like how they would say, I don't know, like it always, every time I hear that, it always reminds me of like that radio station where the guy called in at what was it? And he was saying that it was that what we considered as aliens is not aliens. It was they're creatures like from a third dimension or a different dimension. He was saying, God, it was a famous man. I can't believe I can't remember his name. It was on AM, but back then. But yeah, he was saying that there was a precursor to the moon landing, and that they're dimensional beings, and they're not really, from here. But again, if they can only phase in for a little bit, or what. So if that's that type of technology where you're literally disappearing, you're not in this sense of the world, you're in a different dimension, I would say, because you're not, you like, again, your shadow's gone, you're gone, your whole material body is gone, the flesh is gone.
Which is pretty wild. Well, true invisibility, which of course wouldn't even be true invisibility. It means it's sort of like a shift into, right, that other dimension. So it's not even visibility. It's just kind of shifting out of phase, like we talked about quite a bit recently with that the the quantum world, and how the quantum world is basically shifting out of phase constantly, not just because of that uncertainty principle with the shit bouncing around like nuts and we can't pin it down. Particle wave duality, quantum immortality, spooky action at a distance, which would be the Einstein thing for quantum entanglement, but then also that time travel. Now they're saying that at the quantum level, these things are in tiny amounts, time traveling forward and backward all at the same time. Now that would be, right? That would be you slip your ring on and boop, quantum world. Here we come. Hey, machine elves. I'm Mike. How are you?
Yeah, that would be something. That would probably be something to see. But for me, I don't know, man. I believe we have that technology now, though. I mean, it's been long. It's probably we've had it for a while. Again, with any kind of military, they're going to be at least 40, 50 years ahead in advance of whatever they're going to be putting out. So, and again, I worked in some of that stuff. Like, a lot of that composite material. They were advancing very, very fast. Actually, from the stuff from fiberglass on up. Nowadays it's got some crazy shit. Not only that, but what you're adding into it. The hardener and stuff. You can add all kinds of shit into that. So that's where you're getting that nanotechnology I was telling you, where it can actually repair itself after it's been shot. And I read that on a science thing, like, I don't know, I would say at least 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It seems like we've kind of had this science stall out where 10 years ago you can read all the shit. They're like, oh, invisibility tech is here. And now we have the same damn article, 10 years later. Oh, invisibility tech is here. Well, shit. So which was it, then or now, right?
Yeah. No, they just perfected it now. Back then, that's why I'm always following like a lot of science, because they give you like a lot of the shit they're doing, but it's only going to be little clips, and it's just like something more to follow. You got to just follow along, and they might have another little clip again, maybe 2-3 years down the line, telling you how advanced. That's kind of like how that company with the robots, when they first started it, these things couldn't even stand up. They're still, trying to walk it. Now these things can do backflips and fucking parkour up rocks and shit. So, again, that's why I do a lot of science, a lot of anything with robotics and, nanotechnology, some of that shit, because, they can even, they're doing a lot of shit with that nanotechnology. People need to keep an eye on that, man.
Yeah, 100%. You going to stick around for a little bit? We got Daryl on the line here that we can pop in. Completely up to you as always, my man.
Sure, man. I'll stick around there. I'll go ahead and go mute it.
Okay, don't go anywhere. We were here with Kelly in Colorado. Good friend, old friend of the show. Dude has been around since the old days when Frank was the co-host. We're talking years. Kelly's family, man. It's been that long. Thank you again for being part of this, bro. You kind of kickstarted this and made me realize that, hey, this isn't just a bunch of bullshit. These are worthy conversations. So thank you so much for that. Let's go to Daryl. Daryl in New York. What's up, Daryl? Are you there? Test 1 2. I saw you in the caller queue, and I'm not sure if you're ready here, but I just wanted to not ignore you forever. What's going on? Hello. Test 1 2. Daryl, are you there? Daryl, are you there? Not coming through. It's lighting up like you're talking, but it's not actually coming through. Maybe need to reset the... sometimes Discord does that when it hasn't updated. It used to screw with me all the time because Discord would update like 3 times a week. There we go. I hear something. Are you there? Daryl, are you there?
Is this Discord?
Yes, you're on the show. What's up, Daryl?
Cool. Great subject. And I was just thinking, of course, like, how are they going to screw this up? It's going to be weaponized. And, of course, they've tried to use stealth technology as early, I think, as in the 40s during the the Second World War, and were kind of effective, with not with anything amazing, not like a squid, octopus technology or anything like that, but just trying to refract the light a little bit. And I saw that suit for $12,000. That's pretty affordable, right?
I'll take 2, please.
Yeah. But they, like in Israel, so I'm thinking how they're going to weaponize this. And of course, there are ways. I don't think they could totally, if they can refract the light and do something with anti-gravity, it can achieve certain results. But I still don't think it could avoid radar, let's say, So you might have to sacrifice one for the other. But where was I going with this? But then I looked at the weapons of the future, and it doesn't really matter if you're invisible, because these weapons are so advanced, it doesn't even matter if you're invisible. They're too fast. The missiles that they're making now are just like incredibly fast and effective at achieving their targets. So the weapons of our future, it's pretty shocking what they're creating. I don't know, what our future is going to be, but they're going to have some serious weapons that are going to be faster and better than anything we've ever had. Whether we use nukes in them or not, it's like multiplied by 10. So, in any case, I don't think it would matter if we were invisible. But in Israel, they were developing these amazing camouflage clothing. I sent the video on the general tab in Troubled Minds on Discord. The Israelis are developing some pretty cool stuff. They have like a video, you can't tell that there's anybody in the video, and then suddenly they move. Just a perfect landscape is full of soldiers, you just couldn't see them. But my thought was, if you could be invisible, would you have to be naked? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you could really be invisible.
So that's actually one of those TV tropes, right? So it's like, okay, so Frodo could put on the ring, or Bilbo, right, in Lord of the Rings, and their clothes went with them, right? But in some of those, like the comics or the TV tropes and things like this, whatever it was they did for invisibility, it would make their body invisible, but not their clothes. So they had to get naked to actually be invisible, right? I like where your mind's at, Daryl. I like where your mind's at.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, you'd have to just get naked, You're not exactly invisible. Nobody can see you, but you still could get hit by a car. But if you put some clothing on, then that blows everything, Like the Invisible Man, He had to be naked, I think.
Exactly. The Emperor has no clothes. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Well, and I think, so then we have this other suit, like you said, the $12,000 suit here. This, again, I have to read this again because it's hilarious. GI Gen 6 Nanophotonic Refraction Stealth Operator Suit. So that's what you do. You put that suit over your clothes and bam, there you go. Invisible. I kind of have a new Christmas wish. I'm like, cancel everything. I want this. Can I really be invisible?
Let's do a GoFundMe on it. GoFundMe.
Let's see if they have a 30-day return policy. If they've got a 30-day return policy, I'll buy this MFR and check it out and then send it back.
So, these things will go down in price eventually. Certainly, the first year they're out, it's going to be expensive, of course, but maybe soon we'll be able to get it on Amazon,
Yeah, they're going to deliver it to your doorstep. It's going to be it's so good you won't even be able to notice. They have to put it in a box for you to know they dropped it off, because once you open the box,
right.
They gypped me. They sent me nothing. Oh wait.
Exactly. Stealth drone that'll deliver your stealth suit, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. So what about, so clearly the light refraction stuff and the military aspects and all that stuff, even back to the 40s, we're talking about the Philadelphia experiment, the USS Eldridge and bending light and all that stuff, right? That's fine. Even the electromagnetic fields. But if you take it to the next level, right? Well, what about true invisibility? Do you think humans have maybe achieved that, or do you think that's even possible for us?
Well, if you could teleport somebody, I guess you could become invisible, That's my thought. Or, if you could walk through a wall, let's say, if you can, restructure your molecular, what do they call that when you reunite molecularly with your atoms or something? You connect with your self.
I think the technical term is it's a party. Yeah. I think that's the technical term.
Like that. Anyway, if you can teleport somebody, if you could walk through a wall, I guess you could be invisible, like temporarily invisible. If you can rearrange your atoms, and not, die, and not become like, the Philadelphia experiment, maybe.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think that's the weirdness, right? Because then again, there's like effective invisibility, there's true invisibility, and that's where, again, like I said, it seems silly. It's like, this is comic book shit. Shut up, Mike. I don't know. I don't think so. We got this suit for $12,000. Navy SEALs, this type of thing. We got effective invisibility, true invisibility. If they've been working on this since the 1940s, are there lots of invisible MFers walking around? I think that's a good question. Back from Charlie on Rockfin. And yeah, I think. I'm gonna say maybe.
If you could slip into a different dimension and probably become effectively invisible or fictionally visible, perhaps, if you only exist in one timeline, you could skip timelines. If you transfer to a different dimension, if you could get teleported. I guess these are the possibilities of becoming invisible, but you're really disappearing, not exactly invisible.
Right. Yeah. And so exactly. So there is a conversation here. It's not as simple as just the comic books or just like light refraction. There's some weird shit happening. And even in this suit, it says nanophotonic refraction. So we're literally talking about like in the on the nano scale, they've done some engineering to this freaking suit, and this is what our Navy SEAls wear. That's pretty wild. Just that concept. But then what's the next step?
But what about if you look at Bigfoot probably has the technology to become invisible, or he's like pixelated, or he's blurry, and then he's invisible. I'm not sure. Does he go to another dimension? I think Bigfoot knows how to become, functionally invisible or technically disappear or whatever, So I think it's possible, reverse engineered or something,
Yeah, and all that, like clearly, this is Troubled Minds. We talk about UFOs and Bigfoot and all kinds of crazy shit. So that's all on the table, of course, right? With this maybe phasing in and out. I think it's odd too that, like Jennifer brought up earlier, that it seems like maybe in the old days they were kind of into this invisibility thing too, almost like they were detecting these invisible creatures all the time, and that's sort of what maybe spawned a bunch of these mythologies and folklores and whatnot. So. Yeah, wild stuff. I don't know, as usual, right? I don't have the answers. I wish I did, but here we are. Kelly, you got anything for Della here while she's on?
Are you here?
He's here.
Yeah. Well, every time that I get naked and run around, I thought I was invisible.
Did you say he gets invisible? I thought you were invisible. I know. I don't know. Nobody looks at me anymore on the nude beaches, so I think I'm invisible. I don't know.
There it is. Right. That's not true invisibility. That's called effective invisibility. We're making up new terms here. On the
visible
nude
here,
there's no such thing as effective invisibility. You guys are killing me. Yeah, I don't know. A lot here. Again, like I don't think it's a trivial conversation. I think there's a lot to this, a lot of different levels, and again, that's why we do it, right? Because it's it's like, oh, cool, this weird suit. I wonder if it works. Huh. Well, one of these days I'll buy one of these damn suits and I'll wear it on the damn chat, and you'll see. We'll see if it actually photonically refracts the shit and disappears me. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Other thoughts, Kelly, regarding like the Bigfoot thing and maybe some of that stuff? How do you think this kind of works into maybe the paranormal situation here?
I mean, that could be the same thing, because again, these things, what they say they can't find them or whatever, or, they've been filmed, but that's about it, and then they seem to just disappear. It could be, and that's another thing too. I was kind of I forgot to bring up was like, the ancient times that they were talking about, and maybe they were getting beamed up like Scotty, that they were being transported, because if they're materializing right in front of you, there would be something looks like some kind of be able to disappear out of thin air. If that's some kind of technology from back there. But what's interesting too is just also too, like the ancients, you have like all the statues and stuff. They have they wear some weird jewelry, You're
cutting out, Kelly. You're cutting in and out. better. Go ahead. Yeah, you said wearing weird jewelry is what I heard.
Yeah, like in the ancient, like all the drawings or like statues and shit. A lot of these ancients are wearing, looks like technology, weird hats or something, watches, or carrying around those buckets, or like in like some of the ones in Egypt too. Some of their weird headgear or their facial things. Who knows what they're it could be some kind of technology like that. Where they can be able to just be transported. And maybe it's just old technology they didn't know what existed,
Yeah, again.
Remember Maxwell Smart? Remember that show Maxwell Smart? Didn't he have like a watch he would put on and he'd become invisible? Or a shoe, something like that? Remember the spy, the secret agent, Maxwell Smart in 99?
Yeah, I remember him.
Remember that? Didn't he wear a wristwatch that made him invisible? Remember that?
I think it was. Watch.
Yeah, I think so.
I have no idea. Well, if you can find one, if you guys can find one of those, let me know. I'll save up. I'd love to be invisible. Sneak up to the hot dog counter and be like, "I'll take 2, please," and they're like, "Ah!" Yeah. There you go. Yeah, every time you can make a hot dog joke, you got to make one. All right. So no. What are your other thoughts on this, guys? As we wind this down, we got another 15 minutes or so. You guys are welcome to hang out or bounce as you see fit. Completely up to you. It's your time, not mine. And well, what's up?
You know what, Mike? There was actually, now that we're talking about that, there was actually, I can't remember that doctor's name, but his story was he was walking his dog. He lived in Washington, right? And he used to walk his dog in the forest and ran into a gray alien. And, the alien killed his dog and then he hit it upside his head, and he took it home and, he was examining it. I can't remember the name of the doctor's name, but also there was a time when he went to Jaime Maussan down in Mexico, right? Where he said he needed protection too, because he wanted to show to the world some evidence, of some technology. And there was this thing that he called it it was like a bracelet he put on his arm, right? I don't know if you guys seen this, but and a lot of his videos were taken off of YouTube, and the only way you could get it is to buy his videos. But he had a live show on Mexico where he put this bracelet on, and I don't know what happened to him. He kind of he disappeared, but he shrunk. His whole body disappeared, but he shrunk into a ball of light, and the ball of light kind of just floated off. And then next later on, it floated back in, and then boom, he popped. He was there again and sitting in the fucking seat. It was a trip. I mean, but it was a video. Okay, the video shows him he was at he didn't want to have that technology, in front of everybody. So he just, he was talking via live to I don't know, back then it was, but. It's the craziest shit now that you guys bring that up, but I'd have to find it and maybe put it on Discord, but I can't remember his name, man. But yeah, he puts this bracelet on and boom, he disappears and turns into this ball of light.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So what is that? Is that Merkaba? What is that? What is that? Is that the One Ring? Did he find the One Ring? Is Sauron on the way?
Yeah, it was the craziest shit. I can't remember. Do you know what I'm talking about though? That story that he was in Washington. He lived in the state of Washington, and he was walking his dog, right? And then he's got this whole video he's got where he filmed this. It's like a black triangle ship, like a one person, right? And he walks all the way around it. They try to debunk him, but that shit is real, man. Anyway, he's really hard, but then he said he hit this alien upside the head because he killed his dog. His dog instantly turned into ashes when that alien ripped it in half. But anyway, he takes it home and he's examining where he's peeling back the skin on the head. God, I can't remember his goddamn. But yeah, later on when he goes to Mexico, right, he's got a video on it where he wears this bracelet. He calls it anyway, it's it's not just a bracelet. It kind of like goes up half his forearm, and there's these two pins that stick into his skin. And it kind of like, that's where he says, once that happens, he knows that it's like he can like communicate with the other species that owned it before. It's like he says it's weird. It's like he jumps into another realm. Fucking weird. You guys, I'd have to find it and I'll post it, man. It's crazy.
That's the alien in the freezer guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he put it in there, and then the thing survived, but because I don't know what the fuck, man. It was weird. It's a weird story, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild story. That we actually did a whole show on that one. It's called, I think it's called Alien in the Freezer. If you guys just search either on YouTube or it's probably on the podcast feed, because I'm trimming out all those super old ones from YouTube. Because the old days, we weren't as polished as we are today, so a lot of that has gone off of YouTube. I did it, so no censorship. I did it myself, but it is on the podcast feed. Do check it out. Frank was on the show then. It's like the Alien in the Freezer. GameVet02 in the chat says his videos were fake and debunked. And I think some of the actual the alien look kind of paper mache. It looked kind of sketchy. But he did have a wild story about all the rest of that. So who knows? Who knows, right? Again, depends on who you ask. So that's all good. It's all good. But okay. So now look, like I'm going back to I'm just flipping through some of the articles I pulled up tonight. Back in 2015, it says this is a headline from Gizmodo. Meanwhile, in the future, you can now buy an invisibility cloak, right? It's like, all right, it's 2015, right? And literally you can find stuff from years and years and years ago. Here's another one, hyperstealth.com. They call this thing quantum stealth, and there's like these sheets. It's called Invisibility Invented. And you could just put up this sheet, like a sheet of plastic, and yeah, what's it do? It basically refracts the light so you can't see what's behind it, but you see what's behind it. It's crazy, man. Like this stuff is out there, and not only is it out there, it's like freely available to get. Like you can buy this shit. It's pretty wild, man. Like I'm kind of curious about. Well, let's get some invisibility shit. I kind of want to be invisible now. And by the way, also to add to that, Robert adds this: there is no good motive to be invisible, only mischief. And well, touche. I guess that's probably true. Yeah. I don't know.
Mischief shit.
For sure, right? Loki type mischief. How about this? All right, let's take this to another level. What about this? I've got this from witchspellbook.com. They're talking about invisibility spells. What do you know about that, Kelly? Do you think that there's maybe spellcraft or something like this that you could actually cast a spell to become invisible? How about that?
Yeah, that would be awesome. That's one thing again that I've been. The next thing I'm delving into is magic. So, yeah, that'd be do something like that with a spell. That would be kind of crazy. How would that work? Would it be that they can't see you, or you know what I mean? As like it's like a change in their mind where they can't see you, or is it that you literally disappear, kind of like a genie?
Yeah, boom. Exactly. Can you think of any like old stories? I know you're like way up to speed on the Anunnaki and stuff like that more than I am. I'm trying to think of like there's a lot of old like kind of fiction stories, the Invisible Man and some other pretty weird stuff. But can you think of anything in terms of like maybe ancient stories where there were like maybe invisibility spells? I was trying to rack my brain, and I couldn't quite come up with anything other than just more like sci-fi, modern type pop fiction, Lord of the Rings and shit like that. Harry Potter, but I'm sure there's got to be ancient stories of like invisible things. I would imagine, right? Like Jennifer was saying, sort of the vampires and the mirrors and all that shit.
Yeah, some of that stuff is like it would remind me of, but again, it's almost like a transporter or something, because the one is that always intrigues me is the one from India. Their god, one of their pantheon gods is Shiva. Now, there's this thing called a lingam, right? That they built everywhere. They're like in rivers. It seems to me that like they always have to cover it. They pour milk over it in some places, or just water, to like I don't know, it's like a ritual, right? And the shape of it, like where it sits in, it's almost like it's half around and then it goes into like a spike where like the liquid would pour out. But the original, very first carving of Shiva was coming out of a lingam. And the lingam is like, it looks like a door opening up, or it looks like maybe it could have been, like I said, misinterpreted, high technology, where it could have been a portal, or it could have been like someone's being beamed down like Scotty, But yeah, the first one is Shiva coming out of a lingam. And, I don't know why that's kind of a weird thing where it just next, boom, there's their God, They don't talk about that it came down out of the sky like most of them, like some of their vimanas, what they call these flying craft, right? But it was just this round, I don't know, it's just like a shape. And some of them say, like in some of their, their religion is culture part, they say it's more of a phallus, it represents the phallus of a man, and the thing that it sits in is the woman's, they're just like a sexual organ. But to me, that shit looks like some kind of a weird, like, I don't know, it's just like a black tower, right? And it's always shaped the same, looks like a round, I don't know, man, like just check it out. But, but like I said, the very first one is when Shiva, their god, is walking out of the lingam. I don't know. It's interesting that for me, it's like, I think it's just some kind of technology. Either one, it's like a single craft that he came down and it opened up, or it was just like a portal or something like, being down and boom, he popped up, Pretty interesting. That's the only one I can really think of right now where, as in spells or anything other than that would be Toph. But he believes in like, because he was universal transmission, transversing through the universe, as like I guess more of his spirit self or his energy body. But yeah, he talks about going different dimensions, different parts of the universe. That's just a crazy read too. So yeah, other than that, man, that's one of the only things I can think of right now.
Yeah, pretty wild. In the chat here, Shadows of the Moon, what's up? Give her a follow on YouTube. Says, I have done an invisibility cloak spell so that people don't come into the hotel or have people not spot me so I don't have to talk to them. It's worked for me. Of course, it's a part of my path. That would be pretty wild, right? Imagine when you just don't want to be left alone. You're able to do it and boom. People just walk right by you. I wonder, right? I wonder. Do you have a I don't know. Like I don't. All that stuff is beyond me, right? Like I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying that I don't know how to do it, and so it seems definitely that there's a lot of esoteric knowledge that seems to be still in play. But we just again, the race of the civilization with amnesia is what we are, right? And so who knows? Who knows? Definitely good stuff. I appreciate that. Well, I don't know what, basically, as always, right, there's no answers here. There are only more questions. As you bring up one conversation and the next and the next and the next, it can go from UFOs to extraterrestrials to Bigfoot to invisibility to military applications to interdimensional quantum tunneling. I mean, holy smokes, man. There's so much shit here that I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere, but I do feel like I'm learning a shit ton of stuff. And that's pretty amazing anyway. So Kelly, when are we doing this invisibility suit thing? You're going to get one of these? Come to Vegas, in an invisibility suit, and cause some mischief, steal some people's beers and shit?
You know it, man. I'm going to go into the money room. Hell yeah.
I mean, why not, right? Imagine you just walk up and just pluck drinks off people's tables to walk away with them. They never see it coming. Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't know. We're laughing here, having a good time. But as always, right, I don't have any answers. There are no answers here. There are only more questions. And I think that's the beauty of this. It's sort of, well, you decide. I don't know. I don't have that access to the Akashic record, et cetera, so on. So definitely good shit. What else? We're winding down here the last few minutes, but Any other thoughts on this, Kelly? Any other? Yeah, there you go. James says the casino is haunted, but it's just me and Kelly. It's just Mike and friends. Any other thoughts on this, Kelly? On whether effective invisibility, true invisibility, or even like the One Ring and dimensional travel or paranormal? I don't know. I think there's a ton here, considering just what's actually happening and what's going on with just the world we live in. Seems a strange place, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's I always look at it as when you see these government contractors and stuff like that, or even people within universities, because those are always government funded as well, and that's where a lot of military does this business, where they go to these universities where like MIT and all these other places where they used to kind of like spread this knowledge or technology around, so not everybody can see but they want to ask questions. And sometimes, man, like I said, they're telling you, but you got to pay attention. Most people don't. They're more into and it's because they're just into different stuff. But if you're listening to this station, I'm pretty sure you guys got your eyes and ears peeled. But yeah, for me, I just pay attention to those things, because those little tidbits that they're giving out is a lot of information. They're not giving you all of it, I mean, what you would think, that maybe to answer some of your questions, but they're giving you that information that technology is out, and that technology has been out for a while. I'm going to say it's been out for a while. If they've been tinkering around and, they let some of that out in the 40s, not we're talking about with the huge Navy ship, but as now that we have nanotechnology, that stuff is being implemented faster, and that technology is coming out quicker than we can even imagine. Because if we can see from the time where we went from horse and buggy to the moon, less than 100 years, we got our hands on something that's probably out of this world, and I would never doubt that, because the universe is too vast to say that we're here alone. So.
Yeah, amen to that. 100% amen to that. We are not alone, and I think that goes for probably however you want to take that, whether that's the machine elves, or whether that's the extraterrestrials flying from Alpha Centauri, or whether that's even just the meditation Merkabas. Like there's some strange things going on here that again, reality doesn't seem to be as so cut and dry as they tell us in elementary school. And thank goodness they're not teaching us to meditate and turn into Merkabas in elementary school, because, well, that might be a mess. But but anyway, it's probably a little too early for all that. But yeah, so let's we're done. We're getting the hell out of here. Kelly, you are the best, my friend. Always, like I said, Kelly, old friend. He's family at this point. It's been years, hasn't it? When was the first time you called on this show? Do you remember?
It was probably about 3 years ago. I think when it was right before. Me and Michelle were talking about it too. It was like, were we still in Maryland, or because that's when we were stationed out there, or was we, I was getting out and transitioning out, and we were over in like Nebraska, stayed with some family there. But yeah, it's been about it's 3-4 years now. It's
3 years plus. It's definitely 3 years. So we started April of 2018. So we're 3.5 years plus. So it's probably been 3 solid years. You probably called in that first time in that summer of 2018, I would think, somewhere right in that range. Yeah. Look, we've been at this for a while, ain't we? We're not rookies. Let them say what they want, but we're not rookies.
I don't know. We're just scratching the surface, man.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of it, right? Again, 3 hours, 4 nights a week now, and we're still barely scratching the surface on a lot of this stuff. It's pretty wild how deep just a lot of these conversations go. So I want to thank you again for all your amazing information, all your great thoughts on all this stuff. And again, for over all the years, like I said, it's I wanted to point out that when I say Kelly's an old friend, I frickin' mean it. It's not just saying we met last week. Kelly's been around a minute, and he's kind of been through all the iterations of Troubled Minds, and even adapted, right? He's got the old sailor with the sailor mouth and the potty mouth. He's like, yep. He even said, cool, I'll just call in the 3rd hour now because I can't trust myself. I appreciate all that, man. Thanks for rolling with the punches and being part of all this. It's super amazing. Super amazing. Daryl, you still there?
My pleasure, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Same here. Same here. Like I said, you come to Vegas, you let me know, bro. We're going to have some beers. We're going to go watch the stars. It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. All right. All right. So we're done. I guess we're done. I don't know if Daryl's there. She's probably still listening. She's popping in and out, so her internet's broken. So unless you got anything else, what's up? So Daryl, what's up? What are your final thoughts? We're about to wind this down.
Yes,
what about the invisibility? What about all the rest of this stuff?
I think I've seen like pixelated cloaking techniques in New York, where they're trying to hide. There's a spaceship on top of the Strand Hotel that's kind of hidden with pixelation techniques. Cloaked. A lot of the time it's cloaked, but not all of the time. And they can't cloak 1,000% of the time, or 100% of the time. He said you have to get 4 Tibetan mirrors facing inside a room to catch the cloaked time traveler or remote viewer or shadow person. I'm just repeating something I heard. I don't think you have to make sure the mirrors are from Tibet. They could be any mirrors. You think about it. So if you have 4 mirrors facing a room, there's really nowhere to hide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So that just depends on the state of reality, right? I think that little bit of weirdness too.
Could be, or your technology, how far advanced it is. I think, if you think that we have, we're just a few hundred years into our technology. What if these people, like from different galaxies, are 1,000 years or 1 billion years ahead of us? Do you think they could achieve just about anything, including, wormholes and warp speeds and teleportation and everything that we think is magic is probably achievable with 1 billion years of knowledge. I think anything's possible. That's what I have to say.
Amen to that. So let's wrap this up. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
In another world, in another universe that's not too far away from ours, It could be happening, like the animals that can shapeshift or transform or disappear or switch, interdimensional, shapeshifting, nano robots, whatever. I think anything's possible.
Right, exactly. Got a good comment here I want to read before we finish up here from Nathan on Rockfin. Says, if we live in multidimensional realms with frequencies like a FM radio station tuning bar, then we don't need rematerialization. We just need to tune into the next realm and use portal and wormholes as access and doorways. You can use consciousness alone to travel like a yogi or remote viewer. What's up, Nathan? Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for dropping your thoughts there. Good stuff. Good stuff. I don't know. Very much like what Daryl was saying here. So let's get the hell out of here. Let's get the hell out of here. Anything else? We got some howls. All right.
We'll see you guys tomorrow, and you guys be good to yourselves and good to others.
There you go. 100%. Be good to yourself so you can be good to others. That's 100%. That needs to be a Trouble Minds t-shirt. As always, good stuff. Kelly, old friend of the show. Thank you, Daryl, for hanging out with us. I'm going to mute you just so your talkback isn't coming through as we wind this down. Thank you, Daryl, for being part of this. I'll unmute you in just a sec. And let's finish. Let us finish, shall we? I'm going to play some music, and let's do it. Let's get the hell out of here. It goes a little something like this, right? We do this 4 nights a week. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we talk about all kinds of crazy shit. That's what this show's all about, right? It's about your reality. It's about the reality that we live in. It's about, it's more than that. I don't know. It's too much. It's even too much to sum up at some point. It's about a lot of things, and I think there are a lot of things that are worthy of talking about. There are a lot of things worthy of thinking about, and that's what's happening here. That's why we do this. That's why I like to consider all the possibilities. And who knows? We're wrong, right? But don't forget, the underlying theme of this whole show is we have the right to be wrong. And so, right, that goes with religious ideas. That goes with all the rest of these things, okay? We don't want to live in a world where science is the king. And I'm not a science denier. I love science. I talk about science all the time. But when you get Fauci saying, I am the science. No, sir, fuck off. You are not the science. You're just a politicized little man that's been in the deep state for your whole fucking life. You are not the science. The science is something completely separate, and it is not people. And that's what this show's about. Not about Fauci, not about you. Well, it is about you. Not about science in particular, in the sense that people are science, science is science. And we're going to keep on talking about that. We're going to keep on considering those things, and that's what this show's about. Thank you again to all the amazing calls tonight. Thank you again to all the amazing chat tonight. Thanks for all the people that are out there listening and shy and not chatting. You know who you are. And, well, we're going to keep on doing our thing. We're going to keep on trucking and talking about all of this, because all of this, there's more. There's always more. There's always more stuff to consider and to think about, and that's what this is about. So, as we finish Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, more Troubled Minds coming to you tomorrow night on Thursday. A little birdie told me maybe we'll start doing Friday shows. So if you guys are into that, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the feedback. Tweet at me, holler at me, email me, troublemindsradio@gmail.com. Maybe we'll start adding the Friday shows. Yeah, you tell me. You guys tell me what's going on with all this. And thank you for being part of this. The journey's been amazing. All the stuff I've learned, all the amazing people I've met, all of the rest of that, you let me know. And there we go. Let's get the F out of here. You guys have a fantastic night. There we go. Premature. That was a premature howl. That one goes out to Ronald with his nanotechnology penis implant. What's up, Nathan on Rockman says, what if technology is made for spiritual regression? And that's a show in itself right there. What's up, Liam Martin? Everybody follow Liam Martin, the Exiled Minds podcast, link in the description. All right. Keep talking. Running out of music. Let's get the hell out of here. As we finish, we'll be back tomorrow night, God willing. Thank you for listening. Be sure, be strong, be true. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. What's up, Rock Lobster? You're too late. We're ending right now. All right, here we go. Ow.